The ancients taught that the universe does not hear your desires, it feels your being. It does not respond to what you want, it mirrors what you are. There is a quiet hum beneath the noise of the world, a subtle energy that shapes your reality from the inside out, and it has been waiting for you to turn your attention away from the storm and toward the still center, where all things are born. You feel it, don't you? A deep and persistent exhaustion that sleep does not cure. A sense of being a stranger in your own life, playing a part you never auditioned for, reciting lines written by someone else. The world demands your performance. It asks for your energy, your time, your focus, and in the relentless giving, you have felt a hollowing out, a quiet forgetting of the person you were before you were told who you should be. You have searched for answers in the noise, in more information, more goals, more doing, only to find the echo chamber of the world grows louder and your own soul's voice grows fainter. But what if the answer was never in the noise? What if the cure for the chaos is not a louder, more convincing argument, but a profound and intentional silence? We are taught to fear silence, to fill it with distraction and sound, for in the quiet, things we have long suppressed begin to surface. But the silence we will journey into together is not empty. It is not a void, it is a plenum. It is the womb of creation, the canvas upon which all experience is painted. It is the space between your thoughts where truth resides. It is the fertile ground from which your true self can finally, peacefully emerge. This is an invitation to close the door on the world for a while, to step into the pages of a book that is not read with the eyes, but felt with the soul. This is the book of inner silence. This journey is not about becoming someone new. It is about the courageous act of unbecoming everything that is not you. It is a gentle shedding of skins, a quiet removal of masks, a returning to the unadorned, luminous essence you have always been. There is nothing to achieve, nothing to prove. There is only a remembering, a coming home. So, take a breath. Let the tension in your shoulders fall away. Let the world outside fade. The journey inward begins now. Let us begin by turning our attention inward, to the space behind your eyes. What do you find there? For most of us, for most of our lives, that inner world is not a place of peace. It is a place of noise, a relentless, unending monologue that begins the moment you wake and often follows you into your dreams. It is the voice of the planner, the worrier, the critic, the judge. It rehearses future conversations, relitigates past arguments, and offers a running commentary on everything you do, think, and feel. It tells you that you are not doing enough, or that you have done too much. It reminds you of your failures with vivid clarity, but dismisses your victories as mere luck. This internal narrator is tireless, and it has convinced you that it is you. This is the echo chamber of the mind. Imagine your consciousness is a vast, quiet room. But from a young age, people began installing loudspeakers in this room. Your parents installed speakers that broadcast their beliefs about the world, their fears, their hopes for you. Teachers installed speakers that played messages about success and failure. Society installed hundreds of speakers, all humming with the accepted truths about worth, beauty, and purpose. Traumatic events installed powerful subwoofers that replay the bass notes of fear and pain over and over again. Now, you stand in the middle of this room as an adult, surrounded by 1,000 loudspeakers, and they are all turned on. They are all broadcasting, creating a cacophony, a disorienting noise that feels inescapable. The messages overlap and contradict each other, but they have one thing in common. They are all old recordings. They are not the truth of this present moment. They are ghosts of the past, projected into the future. And what do? We spend our lives trying to manage the noise. We argue, with a loudspeaker in the corner that tells us we are not worthy. We try to shout our affirmations over the din, hoping a new positive message can drown out the old negative ones. We try to distract ourselves, turning up the volume of the external world work, entertainment, relationships, so that we don't have to hear the noise inside. We exhaust ourselves decorating the room, rearranging the furniture, pretending the loudspeakers aren't there. But the hum is always present, the static beneath the surface of our lives, draining our energy, fueling our anxiety, and keeping us from ever experiencing true, profound peace. The fundamental error, the source of all this struggle, is a simple case of mistaken identity. You believe you are the noise. You believe you are the loudspeakers and the chaotic messages they broadcast. Your entire sense of self has been fused with this mental machinery. But now, I invite you to consider a revolutionary possibility, a truth so simple it is easily missed. You are not the noise, you are not the thoughts, you are the room itself. You are the vast silent space in which the noise happens. There is the thought of fear, and then there is the one who is aware of the thought of fear. There is the sensation of anger, and then there is the one who notices the sensation of anger. There is the voice of the inner critic, and then there is the one who hears its judgment. For your entire life, you have identified with the fleeting phenomena, thoughts, the emotions, the sensations. You have been lost in the movie playing on the screen. The first step to freedom, the first step out of the echo chamber, is to shift your identification from the movie to the screen itself, from the noise to the silence that holds the noise. This is not something to be understood intellectually. It is something to be experienced. Right now, as you listen to my voice, notice the thoughts that are arising in your mind. Perhaps a thought of agreement, or skepticism, or boredom. Do not push it away. Do not grasp it. Simply notice it. See it as an event in your consciousness, a cloud passing through the sky of your awareness. Who is it that sees this cloud? The cloud is not the sky. The thought is not you. The sky does not fight the clouds, nor does it cling to them. It simply allows them to be, to come and go, remaining untouched, unchanged in its vast, silent nature. You are the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. This is the beginning of disidentification. This is the first time you consciously step back and cease to power the loudspeakers with your belief, because that is their only source of power, your attention and your belief. A thought, in itself, is harmless. It is a flicker of energy, as insubstantial as a dream. It only gains power when you grab onto it, believe it, and build your identity around it. The thought "I am a failure" is just a string of words, a pattern of energy. It is inert. But the moment you infuse it with the power of "I am," the moment you believe it to be a true statement about your essence, it becomes a bar in your prison cell. It becomes a loudspeaker blasting its toxic message, powered by your own life force. The mind's greatest trick is to convince you that it is the master of the house, when it is, in fact, only a tool. A powerful tool, but a tool nonetheless. It is meant to be used for planning, for solving practical problems. But we have allowed the tool to take over the user. We have allowed the servant to become the king, and it is a tyrannical king, ruling from a throne of fear. Your task is not to destroy the mind, to wage war against your thoughts, for that is just creating more noise, more conflict inside the chamber. Fighting with the loudspeakers only adds to the cacophony. Your task is much simpler, much quieter. It is to find the power switch, and the power switch is your awareness. The moment you notice a thought without judgment, the moment you see it for what it is, an impersonal, conditioned event in your consciousness, you have cut its power supply. You have withdrawn your belief. You have stopped fueling it with your attention. In that moment of pure observation, the loudspeaker goes silent. It may try to turn back on. The old habits are strong. The mental grooves are deep. The voice will come back and say, "What is this nonsense? Of course I'm you. Let's get back to worrying about that meeting tomorrow." And in that moment, you have another opportunity. Instead of being pulled back into the noise, you can simply notice that thought too. You can say internally, there is the narrator trying to reclaim its power. Interesting. This interesting is a key. It is the attitude of the curious scientist, not the struggling victim. You are beginning to observe the patterns of your own mind from a place of calm detachment. You are no longer lost in the machine. You are standing beside it, observing how it works. This is the path out of the echo chamber, not by breaking down the walls, but by realizing you were never inside them in the first place. You are the space, not the objects within it. So let us sit here, for a moment, in this new understanding. Let the noise of the mind be there. Do not fight it. Let the loudspeakers play their old, tired songs. But see if you can, for just 1 second, shift your attention. Feel the quiet presence that is listening to it all. This silent, aware presence, it does not judge, it does not panic, it does not resist, it simply is. It is the background of stillness against which all the motion of your life takes place. You have spent a lifetime focused on the motion. Now, we begin the journey of resting in the stillness. And a question naturally begins to form in this newfound space. A question that echoes in the quiet once the noise begins to subside. If I am not the thoughts, and I am not the emotions, if I am not this ceaseless narrator, then who am I? This question is the doorway, and on the other side awaits the discovery of the one who has been watching all along. The question left hanging in the quiet of your mind is the most important one you will ever ask. If you are not the voice in your head, not the ceaseless chatter of the echo chamber, then who are you? The answer is not a concept to be learned, but a presence to be discovered. It has been with you every moment of your existence, waiting patiently in the background, overshadowed by the drama of your life but never absent. This presence is the silent watcher. It is the awareness that perceives everything but is attached to nothing. It is the still, unblemished screen upon which the movie of your life plays. It is the sky that holds the clouds of thought and the storms of emotion. It has no opinion, no history, no agenda. It does not judge you for your anger or praise you for your kindness. It simply witnesses. It is the dimension of consciousness itself, pure and unconditioned. Think back through your life. The awareness that looked out through your eyes as a 5-year-old child, full of wonder, is the same awareness looking out through your eyes right now. The circumstances have changed, the body has changed, the personality and its stories have been layered on top like coats of paint, but the fundamental consciousness, the sense of I am, has remained constant. That is the watcher. You have confused yourself with the paint, with the layers of conditioning, memory, and identity. The spiritual journey is the process of gently recognizing that you are not the paint, but the canvas underneath it all. Let us use an image. Imagine you are a lighthouse built upon the solid rock of existence. Your foundation is deep and unshakable. Your purpose is simple, to shine your light, which is your awareness. The ocean that surrounds you is the world of experience. It is your mind, your emotions, your external circumstances. Sometimes the ocean is calm, a placid, shimmering mirror under a clear sky. In these moments, it is easy to feel peaceful, but other times, the ocean rages. Storms of fear gather on the horizon. Waves of anger crash against your base. A thick fog of confusion rolls in, obscuring your view. The novice believes they are the ocean. When the storm comes, they are the storm. They are lost in the chaos, tossed about by the waves, believing they will surely be destroyed. They spend all their energy trying to command the waves to be still, shouting at the storm to cease, an impossible and exhausting task. But the awakened one understands. They are not the ocean. They are the lighthouse. Their work is not to control the weather, for the weather is impersonal and will do what it does. Their work is to remain rooted in their foundation and to continue shining their light. The light does not fight the storm. It illuminates it. It shines upon the angry waves, revealing them for what they are, temporary patterns of energy. It pierces the fog of confusion, creating clarity. The lighthouse is not afraid of the storm because it knows the storm cannot touch its essence. The waves can crash, the wind can howl, but the lighthouse remains. It is a beacon of silent, steady presence in the midst of turmoil. You are this lighthouse. Your awareness is this light. Becoming the silent watcher is the act of remembering your true nature as this lighthouse, especially when the storms of life are raging. Let us try to experience this directly, beyond the realm of words and metaphors. If it is safe for you to do so, allow your eyes to gently close. Begin by bringing your attention to the rhythm of your breath. Feel the air entering your body and feel it leaving. Do not try to change it, just observe it. This simple act of observation is the first step in activating the watcher. Your breath is the anchor that brings you into the present moment, where the watcher resides. Now, with your awareness anchored to the present, simply wait. Like a cat watching a mouse hole, you are simply watching the field of your mind. Sooner or later, a thought will appear. It could be a memory, a plan, a judgment, a random word. The moment you notice it, you have succeeded. The old habit would be to latch onto that thought, to follow it down a rabbit hole of associations, to become lost in its story. But this time, you will do something different. You will simply let the thought be. Acknowledge it without judgment. You might even label it softly in your mind, thinking, and then you let it go, like releasing a butterfly from your hand. You watch it float away and dissolve, and you return your attention to your breath, waiting for the next one. Notice the space between the end of one thought and the beginning of the next. That space, however brief, is a moment of pure peace, pure consciousness. It is a glimpse of your true nature, free from the chatter. As you practice this, you begin to create more of that space in your life. Now, bring your awareness to your body. Scan your body for any prominent sensations or emotions. Perhaps there is a tightness in your chest from anxiety, or a heat in your stomach from irritation. The old pattern is to resist these feelings, to call them bad and wish they would go away, a resistance that only amplifies them. Or the pattern is to become completely identified with them. I am angry. I am anxious. But as the watcher, you take a different approach. You bring a kind, curious attention to the sensation itself. Where exactly is it in the body? What is its texture? Does it vibrate or is it solid? Does it have a temperature? You are investigating the raw energy of the emotion before the mind slaps a label and a story onto it. You are breathing into it, allowing it to be there, without needing it to change. And a miracle happens. When an emotion is fully seen, fully allowed, by the non-judgmental light of the watcher, it begins to lose its power. It has delivered its message, and like a courier whose letter has been accepted, it can now move on. It passes through you, but it does not define you. You are the space in which the emotion happens, not the emotion itself. This is the beginning of true emotional freedom. It is not the absence of difficult feelings, but the ability to be with them without being consumed by them. There is a space between the stimulus of the world and your response. In that space lies your power and your freedom. The silent watcher is the creator of that space. This practice is a retraining of your consciousness. For decades, the muscle of identification has been exercised, while the muscle of observation has atrophied. Be patient with yourself. Your mind will constantly try to pull you back into the movie. You will forget you are the watcher hundreds of times a day. You will get lost in thought, caught in reaction, swept away by the storm. This is not a failure. It is part of the process. The practice is not about maintaining a perfect, unbroken state of witness consciousness. The practice is the gentle, compassionate act of returning, again and again, every time you notice you have been lost. Each time you wake up from the dream of thought, you are strengthening the muscle of awareness. You are coming home. The more you abide as the watcher, the more you see your own inner world with clarity. You begin to see the repetitive patterns of the ego, the old stories that run on loops, the attachments that cause you so much pain. From the calm, elevated perspective of the lighthouse, you can look down at the churning sea of your mind and see with perfect clarity the heavy anchors you are dragging along the ocean floor. You see the resentments you refuse to release, the fears you needlessly cling to, the self-judgments you carry like burdens. And from this place of clear seeing, a new impulse arises. It is not a forceful effort, but a natural consequence of your new perspective. You see the utter futility of carrying these heavy weights. You see that they serve no purpose other than to cause you to suffer. And the obvious, intelligent response that emerges from the silence is the simple, graceful act of letting them go. From the clear, quiet vantage point of the silent watcher, you begin to see. You see the mental loops, the emotional burdens, the heavy anchors of the past that you have been dragging through every moment of your present. The seeing alone brings a measure of peace, but it is followed by a quiet, practical question. How do I put them down? The answer lies in the subtle and profound practice of releasing your grip. We have been taught to believe that holding on is a sign of strength. We hold on to our beliefs, our identities, our grievances. We are told to never give up, to fight for what we believe in. And while this can be useful advice in the external world of action, it becomes a recipe for profound suffering when applied to the inner world of the mind. The ego, the narrator in your head, equates letting go with failure. To let go of a grudge feels like letting the other person win. To let go of a painful memory feels like dishonoring the pain you went through. To let go of a specific dream for the future feels like admitting defeat. But this is a profound misunderstanding of the nature of power. True power is not found in the clenching fist, but in the open hand. Imagine you are holding a burning piece of coal in your palm. It is searing your flesh, causing you excruciating pain. The source of your agony seems to be the coal itself. But the true source of the ongoing torment is the fact that your fist is clenched around it. You are the one holding it in place. Your mind, the echo chamber, tells you stories to justify the grip. I must hold this to remember the fire. I deserve this pain. Someone else forced me to hold this, and I will not let it go until they apologize. So you continue to clench, your knuckles white, your arm trembling with the strain, all while screaming from the pain of the burn. Letting go is simply the act of uncurling your fingers. It is the conscious, intentional decision to stop participating in your own suffering. The moment you open your hand, the coal drops. Gravity does the work. You do not have to throw it or fight it. You just have to cease the activity of holding. And in that release, the pain of the burn may still be there as a sensation, but the self-inflicted agony of the grip is gone, instantly. This is the art of releasing your grip. Most of our suffering is not the coal, it is the clenching. The pain of life is the coal. The suffering of your life is the clenching. Pain is an inevitable part of a human existence. There will be loss, disappointment, sickness, and endings. This is the isness of life. It is the weather. Suffering, however, is almost always a choice. It is a secondary layer of agony we add on top of the initial pain through our own mental and emotional resistance. Suffering is the story we tell ourselves about the pain. Suffering is our argument with reality. It is the voice that screams, "This should not be happening," but it is happening. Fighting reality is a battle you will lose 100% of the time, and it is a battle that will drain your life force and leave you bitter and exhausted. The intelligent path, the path of wisdom, is not to fight reality, but to align with it. This alignment is called acceptance. Acceptance is perhaps the most misunderstood word in the spiritual vocabulary. It does not mean passivity. It does not mean resignation. It does not mean you approve of or condone a harmful situation. It simply means you are willing to see what is as it is without the filter of your judgment. You are acknowledging the reality of the present moment. You cannot find your way out of a maze if you refuse to first accept the fact that you are in a maze. You cannot heal a wound if you pretend it isn't there. Acceptance is the courageous first step of looking directly at reality, which then allows you to take clear, effective, and wise action. Resistance is saying no to life. Acceptance is saying yes. Not yes, I like this, But yes, I acknowledge this is here. In that simple yes, the clenched fist of the mind begins to relax. This is a practice you can engage in at any moment. Begin by noticing where you are holding on. Is there a person you cannot forgive? A mistake from your past that you replay in your mind? A fear about the future that constricts your heart? Identify the hot coal you are clutching. Once you have identified it, do not judge yourself for holding it. Simply notice the act of holding. Bring your awareness into your body and feel the physical signature of your resistance. Is your jaw tight? Are your shoulders raised? Is there a knot in your stomach? That physical tension is the embodied form of your mental clenching. It is the energy of number. Now, bring the gentle power of your breath to that area of tension. As you breathe in, imagine you are sending warm, accepting energy directly into the knot. As you breathe out, imagine the knot softening, loosening, unclenching just a little bit. You are not forcing it to go away. You are simply inviting it to soften. You are creating the conditions for release. You can use a silent mantra to support this process. As you feel the resistance, you can whisper to yourself, "I allow this." You are allowing the feeling of resentment to be there. You are allowing the memory to be there. You are allowing the fear to be there. You are not identifying with it. You are the space that is allowing it to exist. And in this radical allowance, the energy that was trapped in the act of resistance is set free. When you let go of a past grievance, you are not saying what happened was acceptable. You are saying, "I will no longer allow what happened in the past to poison my present moment." You release the hot coal not for the sake of the person who gave it to you, but for the sake of your own hand. Forgiveness is a profound act of self-love. It is the decision to stop carrying a corpse on your back. When you let go of anxiety about the future, you are not giving up on your goals. You are releasing your rigid attachment to a single, specific outcome. You are opening your hand to the universe and saying, "I trust the process. I will do my part, and I will allow life to surprise me." This creates a space for synchronicities, for opportunities you could never have planned for. The clenched fist can receive nothing. The open hand can receive everything. The energy that was once consumed by worrying, by resisting, by holding on, is now liberated. This liberated energy becomes vitality, creativity, presence, and peace. It is the energy you need to build the life you truly want. A life that flows from your authentic self, not one that is a constant reaction to fear and pain. As you become more adept at this practice, as you learn to open your hand more quickly and more often, you may notice something curious. You may notice that many of the hot coals you were clutching were not just random events. They were stories. Stories about who you are. I am the one who was wronged. I am the one who failed. I am the anxious person. We cling to our suffering because, on some deep level, it gives us an identity. It is a familiar, if painful, definition of self. To let go of the story, to let go of the pain, raises a terrifying and exhilarating question. If I am not my story of suffering, then who am I? Releasing your grip on the past and the future forces you to stand naked in the present moment. And here, in this nakedness, you come face to face with the self you have constructed, the collection of masks and labels you have mistaken for your true face. The art of releasing your grip, ultimately, leads you to the art of releasing your false self. It is the necessary preparation for the next stage of the journey, to step beyond the masks and meet the unadorned, essential being that you are. You have learned to release your grip on the stories of the past and the anxieties of the future. You have found a foothold in the present moment, a quiet space created by the silent watcher. And from this space, the question echoes, if I am not my story, who am I? The answer begins not with an addition, but with a subtraction. It begins with seeing, perhaps for the first time, the intricate costume you have assembled and mistaken for yourself. From the moment you were born, you began to accumulate masks. The first was the name you were given, a simple label to distinguish you from others, yet it became the foundation of your identity. Then came the roles: daughter or son, sister or brother. You learned the scripts for these roles, the expectations that came with them. You learned that being the good child earned you love, and being the difficult one earned you attention. And so you chose your mask and began to perform. As you moved into the world, you collected more: the mask of the smart student or the class clown, the mask of the athlete or the artist. Each one offered a sense of belonging, a way to navigate the complex social world. They were useful survival tools. But a strange and tragic thing happened along the way. You forgot you were wearing them. Imagine, at the very core of your being, there exists a magnificent, timeless statue. It is carved from a single piece of luminous, living marble. It is your essence, your true self, the unadorned presence that is one with all of life. It is perfect, whole, and needs nothing. But from your first breath, the world began to place cloaks upon this statue. Your family draped a heavy woolen cloak of their heritage, their beliefs, their unresolved traumas. Your culture added a cloak woven with threads of success, failure, right and wrong. Your education placed upon you a cloak of facts and figures, of logic and reason, obscuring the intuitive heart of the statue. Every significant relationship, every triumph, every failure added another layer: the dark, heavy cloak of a heartbreak, the shimmering but surprisingly restrictive cloak of a great success, the rough, itchy cloak of a secret shame. Now, you stand here today, believing you are this collection of cloaks. You spend your days polishing one, hiding another, adjusting the fit, comparing your wardrobe to the wardrobes of others. You believe the weight of them is your own substance. You have become so identified with the layers of fabric that you have completely forgotten the living marble underneath. You have mistaken the costume for the actor. This is the source of the deep, quiet exhaustion you feel. It is not the work itself, the tasks of your day, that drains you. It is the performance. It is the immense, continuous expenditure of psychic energy required to maintain these masks, to switch between them seamlessly. You wear one mask for your boss, another for your partner, another for your children, another for your oldest friends. You become a master chameleon, adept at reflecting the expectations of whoever you are with. And in the quiet moments, alone, a terrifying feeling can surface: the feeling of being a fraud, an imposter in your own life. This feeling is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that your soul is still alive. It is the living marble of the statue whispering through all the layers of fabric, reminding you, this is not me. This is not who I am. This feeling of fraudulence is a sacred call to authenticity. It is an invitation to begin the courageous process of disrobing. The spiritual path is often mistaken for the process of acquiring a new, better mask, the mask of the spiritual person. We trade our cloak of ambition for a cloak of humility. We trade our cloak of materialism for a cloak of simplicity. But these are just more refined costumes. True liberation is not about changing your cloaks. It is the radical act of daring to remove them. Let us, for a moment, gently examine one of these cloaks. Consider the cloak of your profession. The label of doctor, teacher, mother, engineer. It is a role you play, a function you perform in the world. But is it who you are? When you leave your workplace, when you are no longer performing that function, do you cease to exist? What is the presence that remains when the cloak of your job title is hung in the closet for the night? Now, consider the cloak of your personality: the introvert, the optimist, the anxious one. These are just bundles of conditioned, habitual ways of thinking and behaving. They are patterns, not your essence. Have you not experienced moments of quiet courage, even if you wear the cloak of anxiety? Have you not felt moments of deep connection, even if you wear the cloak of an introvert? The real you is the vast space in which all these contradictory traits can appear. You are not the pattern. You are the awareness that perceives the pattern. The process of removing the masks is a journey of subtraction. With each layer you question, with each label you see through, you become lighter. But it is not always a comfortable process. As the first few cloaks are removed, what is revealed is not immediately the magnificent statue. What is revealed is a terrifying vulnerability, a nakedness, an emptiness. When you are no longer the successful lawyer or the victim of a difficult childhood, you are faced with a profound state of not knowing. Who am I without my job? Who am I without my story? Who am I without my problems? This not knowing is the ego's death. The ego is the collection of cloaks, the story of me. It cannot exist without its definitions, without its labels. So as you begin to disrobe, the ego panics. It will scream that you are losing yourself, that you are becoming nothing. And in a way, it is right. You are losing the false self. You are becoming no thing. Most people run from this experience their entire lives. They feel the approach of this sacred emptiness and immediately grab for a new mask, a new distraction, a new identity to cling to. They would rather live in a familiar, comfortable prison than stand free in a vast, undefined space. But if you are courageous, if you can stay with this feeling of being undefined, you will make a profound discovery. You will find that this emptiness is not a void. It is not a vacuum. It is not an absence. It is a presence. It is a field of infinite potentiality. It is the silence from which all true sound emerges. It is the stillness from which all wise action is born. It is the dark, fertile soil in which the seed of your true self can finally germinate, free from the weight of the cloaks that were smothering it. The world has taught you to build your identity from the outside in by accumulating masks and labels. The spiritual path is the reversal of this process. It is the unveiling of your identity from the inside out. It requires you to be brave enough to stand in the fertile void, the sacred space of not knowing, and to allow that which is real, that which is essential, that which is unadorned, to reveal itself. This is not a journey for the faint of heart, but it is the only journey worth taking. For it is the journey back to the living marble, back to the silent, radiant truth of your own being. It is the journey home. You have peeled back the layers. You have questioned the roles, the labels, the cloaks of identity you have worn for a lifetime. And now you stand at a threshold, a space that is both terrifying and sacred. It is the space of not knowing. The masks have fallen away, and you are left feeling naked, undefined, perhaps even empty. The ego, that narrator in your head whose entire existence depends on definition and separation, screams that this is annihilation. It tells you that to be nothing is to be dead. It scrambles to find a new label, a new story, a new identity to cling to, because it fears this open space more than anything. Our entire society is built on this fear of emptiness. We are taught to fill every moment with noise, every space with things, every question with an immediate answer. We treat emptiness as a vacuum, a void that must be abhorred and avoided. But this is the great misunderstanding that has kept humanity in bondage for millennia. The emptiness you are now touching is not the void of non-existence. It is the womb of all existence. You are standing in the fertile void. Consider the birth of the universe. From what did this explosion of galaxies, stars, and life emerge? It emerged from a singularity, a point of unimaginable density, a state that is, for all intents and purposes, a profound nothingness that contained the potential for everything. Consider the silence between musical notes. Is it an absence of music? Or is it the very thing that gives the notes their meaning, their rhythm, their power? Without the silent spaces, music would be an unbearable wall of noise. The silence is where the music is born. Now consider a seed, a tiny, dormant speck of life, holding the blueprint for a magnificent oak tree. If you plant this seed on a hard paved surface, on the impenetrable mask of concrete, it will die. It needs the right conditions. It needs to be placed in the dark, silent, empty soil. To the superficial eye, this soil is just dirt. It is nothing. But to the seed, this nothingness is everything. It is the darkness that signals it is safe to open. It is the space that allows it to send down roots. It is the emptiness that holds the unseen water and nutrients, the very substance of its rebirth. The seed does not fear the darkness of the soil. It craves it. It understands that this emptiness is not an end, but the absolute precondition for its becoming. Your soul is this seed. The fertile void is this sacred soil. The spiritual journey has led you here, to this moment of returning your own seed to the ground of your being. The act of removing the masks was the act of breaking up the concrete pavement, and now you are left with the dark, rich, undefined soil of your own consciousness. The invitation now is to do the one thing the ego cannot bear, to rest in the not knowing, to surrender to the emptiness. This is an act of supreme trust. It is the willingness to let go not just of your stories, but of the storyteller. To let go not just of your identity, but of the need to have an identity at all. Let yourself sink into this space. Allow the question, "Who am I?" to hang in the air unanswered. Feel the relief of not having to be somebody for a few moments. You do not have to be the successful one, the wounded one, the spiritual one, the wise one. You do not have to be anything. You can simply be a presence, an awareness, the breath moving in and out of your body. In this state of pure being, without the constriction of a defined identity, something miraculous happens. The ego, which is a structure of thought, a fortress built of beliefs, has nothing to hold on to. In the vast, open space of the void, the fortress dissolves. It does not die a violent death. It simply melts, like a castle made of sand, meeting the gentle tide. And the energy that was trapped in maintaining the walls of that fortress is liberated. This is why the void is fertile. It is pregnant with liberated energy. It is the source of all true creativity. The great artists, poets, scientists, and mystics have always known this. To create something truly new, you must first be willing to empty yourself of the old. You must be willing to enter the void. You must quiet the chattering mind, release your preconceived notions, and stand naked in the space of pure potential. From this silence, an insight emerges. From this emptiness, a new form is born. From this nothingness, everything arises. This is the process of rebirth. It is not about constructing a new and improved ego, a shinier mask. It is about allowing the authentic self, the oak tree that was always latent within your seed, to emerge organically from the soil of your being. You do not have to force it. You cannot force it. Your only task is to provide the conditions. Your task is to be the rich, dark, empty soil. To trust the darkness, to embrace the silence, to be at peace with not knowing. The intelligence of life, the same intelligence that turns an acorn into an oak and a singularity into a universe, will do the rest. So rest here. Rest in this sacred nothingness. Feel its power, its peace. It is not a cold, dead void. It is a warm, dark, living womb. It is the stillness at the center of the turning wheel. It is the silent pause that contains all possibility. As you become more comfortable in this space, as you learn to abide in this state of open potential, you may begin to perceive something new. Beneath the silence, there is a subtle hum. Within the stillness, there is a gentle current. The emptiness is not inert. It is alive. It is vibrating with a quiet, powerful energy. It is the very texture of existence, the raw material from which both the formless and the form are woven. You have discovered the ground of being, and now you are beginning to feel its pulse. This pulse, this subtle, energetic aliveness that permeates everything, is the next layer of reality we are invited to explore. It is the language the universe uses to speak to itself. It is the language of vibration. You are resting in the fertile void, the silent, pregnant emptiness from which all things are born. And as you abide in this stillness, you begin to perceive a subtle, underlying hum. an aliveness, a quiet current of energy that infuses the silence and gives it its potency. This is not a product of your mind. It is the fundamental texture of reality itself. Ancient mystics called it prana, mana, or chi. Modern physics touches upon it with its descriptions of the quantum field, a realm of pure potential where particles flicker in and out of existence. The name is unimportant. The experience is everything. The universe, at its most basic level, is not made of solid things. It is made of energy. Everything you see, everything you touch, including your own body, is simply energy vibrating at a particular frequency. A rock is energy vibrating so slowly that it becomes dense, hard, and seemingly solid. Sound is energy vibrating at a faster frequency, one that your ears can interpret. Light is energy vibrating faster still, a frequency your eyes can perceive. All of creation is a vast, infinite spectrum of vibration, a divine orchestra playing a symphony of existence. And here is the secret that shifts everything. Your thoughts and your emotions are also energy. They are not just psychological events. They are tangible, vibrational realities that exist on this same spectrum. They are the frequencies you generate and broadcast into the symphony of the universe. Consider the energetic quality of different emotions. The frequency of fear is dense, cold, and contracting. When you feel fear, your body physically tightens, your breath becomes shallow, your world shrinks. The frequency of shame or guilt is heavy and low, a sticky energy that pulls you downward. Now consider the frequency of love. Love is expansive, warm, and light. It opens you up. The frequency of joy is rapid and effervescent. It makes you feel like you are bubbling over. Gratitude has a unique, magnetic, and coherent frequency that harmonizes your entire being. This is not poetry. It is physics. You are a vibrational instrument. The question is, what tune are you playing? Imagine you are a living broadcasting tower, a radio station transmitting a signal out into the universe 24 hours a day. The signal you transmit is your dominant state of being, the average frequency of your most habitual thoughts and feelings. This signal is not made of words or requests. It is a pure vibrational reality. The universe, in its infinite intelligence, is not a personality that judges you or grants your wishes. It is a vast, impersonal field of resonance that operates on a single, unwavering law. Like attracts like. That which is like unto itself is drawn. Your broadcast does not go out into a void, it goes out into a field of infinite potential realities, each vibrating at its own frequency. Your signal can only, and will only, activate and draw back to you the people, circumstances, and events that are a vibrational match for your broadcast. This is the true esoteric meaning behind what is often called the law of attraction, a law that has been widely misunderstood. It is not a cosmic vending machine where positive thinking gets you a new car. You can repeat the words, "I am wealthy" 1,000 times a day, but if your underlying feeling, your actual broadcast, is the frequency of lack, scarcity, and doubt, then the universe is not hearing your words. It is feeling your vibration. It is feeling the lack, and it will obediently deliver to you more experiences that match the feeling of lack. The universe doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. This is why the work we have done until now is so critical. You cannot fake a frequency. You cannot lie to the universe. Your work is not to chase after things in the external world. Your work is to go inward and change your broadcast. Let us return to our metaphor. If you are broadcasting on the frequency of fear, you have tuned your receiver to the fear channel. The only programs you can pick up are news of more things to be afraid of, encounters with people who reflect your anxieties, and outcomes that confirm your fearful expectations. If you are broadcasting the frequency of unworthiness, you tune into the unworthiness channel, and you will find yourself in jobs where you are undervalued, in relationships where you are not cherished, and in situations that seem to prove the story that you are not good enough. It is not a punishment. It is a perfect, neutral reflection of your own energy. The universe is the ultimate mirror, showing you your own face, your own frequency, with flawless accuracy. To change the program, to change the reflection in the mirror, you do not try to manipulate the program or the mirror. You must change the signal at its source. You must change you. So how do you change your frequency? You do it by consciously choosing the feeling state you wish to embody. This is not about suppressing low-frequency emotions like anger or sadness. As we learned, those must be seen and allowed to pass through by the silent watcher. Suppressing them is a form of resistance, which itself is a low frequency. Instead, the art is to allow the low frequencies to move through without identifying with them, and then to deliberately, intentionally, cultivate the higher frequencies of gratitude, love, and peace. Where does your attention go? Whatever you place your attention on, you feed with your energy. If you focus on what is wrong with the world, you amplify the frequency of discord within your own being. If you focus on a past hurt, you reactivate the frequency of that pain in your present moment. If, instead, you consciously choose to place your attention on something you are grateful for, the warmth of the sun, the taste of clean water, a moment of kindness, you begin to activate and amplify the frequency of gratitude. You begin to change your broadcast, note by note. Gratitude is the master frequency. It is the ultimate shortcut to vibrational alignment. Gratitude is the state of acknowledging that you already have enough, that you already are enough. It is the frequency of abundance. When you generate the feeling of gratitude before you have the thing you desire, you are telling the universe, on a vibrational level, that it is already yours. You are becoming a vibrational match to the reality you wish to experience. The having of the thing is then a natural byproduct, an echo in the physical world of a reality that was first created in your energy field. The primary creation is always vibrational. The secondary creation is material. The world has it backwards. It says, I will be happy when I get the relationship, job, money. The universe says, you must be happy first, and then the relationship, job, money that matches that happiness will find you. You must be it to see it. This understanding of vibration places the power of creation squarely in your hands, but it also raises a crucial question. If your power to create your reality lies in your ability to choose and sustain a vibrational state, when can you possibly do this? You cannot feel gratitude in the past. You can only remember it. You cannot feel joy in the future. You can only anticipate it. The only time you can actually generate a feeling, the only time you can broadcast a frequency, the only time you have any power at all, is right now, in this eternal, unending, ever-present moment. The present moment is not just a philosophical concept. It is the sole point of access to the creative power of the universe. It is the control room for your entire vibrational reality. To master your life, you must master the now, for it is the only place from which you can consciously choose your frequency and begin to broadcast the signal of the reality you truly desire to inhabit. You have awakened to a fundamental truth. Your reality is a reflection of your vibration, a resonant echo of your own inner state. And you have seen that your only point of power, the only moment you can ever choose your frequency, is now. This is not a small realization. It is the key that unlocks the door to a completely new way of living, a new state of consciousness. To truly grasp its power, we must dismantle the greatest illusion that holds the human mind captive, the illusion of time. Your mind tells you that you live your life along a horizontal line, a timeline stretching from a fixed past to an uncertain future. It tells you that your life is the sum of all the events on this line. This is the source of all your anxiety and all your regret. But this timeline is a fiction. It is a mental construct, a product of the egoic mind. There has only ever been one moment, this moment. Everything that has ever happened in a moment just like this one. Everything that will ever happen will also happen in a moment just like this one. Your entire life unfolds in a single, eternal, ever-present now. The past does not exist. Let that truth land with its full liberating weight. What you call the past is a memory trace stored in your mind, a thought form. When you are thinking about the past, you are not actually there. You are here, in the now, activating an old thought pattern and re-experiencing its emotional charge in your body in this moment. The past has no power over you. What has power is your habit of reanimating its ghost in the present. You carry the ashes of yesterday into the pristine space of today and wonder why everything feels old and heavy. The freedom you seek is not about changing the past, but about withdrawing your attention from it in the present. It is the choice to stop energizing the memory, to let the ghost dissolve in the light of your present awareness. The future, too, does not exist. It is a mental projection, a fantasy, an imagination happening now. When you are worrying about the future, you are using the precious energy of the present moment to create a film of a reality that has not happened and may never happen. You are pre-suffering. You are allowing a phantom to terrorize the only reality you ever have. The ego loves the future because it is where its salvation or its damnation lies. I will be happy when I get the promotion. I will be at peace when I retire. I am terrified of what might happen next month. The promise of future salvation keeps you from finding the salvation that is only ever available now. The fear of a future outcome keeps you from accessing the power that is only ever available now. By constantly projecting your consciousness into an imaginary future, you miss your life. Your life is not in the future. Your life is here, now. Imagine your life is a magnificent book, bound in leather and filled with infinite pages. Each moment is a page. Most people live their lives in one of two dysfunctional ways. Some are stuck on a few pages from the early chapters, a page describing a painful childhood, a page detailing a major failure, a page about a great heartbreak. They reread these pages obsessively, tracing the words with their fingers, convinced that if they just analyze them enough, they can somehow change the story. But the ink is dry. While they are lost in these old, crumpled pages, hundreds, thousands of fresh, new, unread pages are turning, unnoticed. Others are constantly trying to peek ahead. They are anxious about the ending. They want to know if it all works out. They skim through the current pages, impatient, not absorbing the details, because their mind is fixated on what might be coming in the final chapter. They are so obsessed with the destination that they completely miss the journey. The richness of the plot, the beauty of the language, the depth of the character set is all lost. The awakened life is the life of the one who has learned to read the book as it was meant to be read, one page at a time, with full, undivided, loving attention. This page, the page called Now. How do you access this state? You do not access it with your thinking mind. The thinking mind is the creator of time, the weaver of past and future. You access the now by dropping out of your head and into your body. Your body is always in the present moment. You can never feel your body yesterday or tomorrow. You can only feel it now. So, bring your awareness inward. Can you feel the subtle field of aliveness that permeates your hands? You don't need to touch them. Just place your attention there. Feel the tingling, the vibration, the life energy. Now feel it in your feet, in your legs, your arms, your torso. This is your inner body, your anchor in the now. It is a direct portal out of the prison of thought and into the reality of being. Anchor yourself in your senses. What are the sounds you can hear right now without labeling them? The hum of electricity, a distant siren, the sound of your own breathing. Just listen. What can you feel? The pressure of your body on the chair, the texture of the fabric against your skin, the temperature of the air. This sensory data is always present, always new. It is the language of the now. By paying attention to it, you pull your energy back from the phantom worlds of past and future and concentrate it in the single point where your power exists. Here, in the now. You can distinguish between your life and your life situation. This is a critical distinction taught by the great master of presence, Eckhart Tolle. Your life situation is a mind construct. It is the story of you, your finances, your health, your relationships, your career. It is a collection of thoughts, rooted in the past and projected into the future. It is where all your problems exist. But your life is the aliveness you feel in your inner body right now. It is the sound you are hearing right now. It is the breath you are taking right now. Your life is always whole, always complete, always at peace, regardless of what chaos is unfolding in your life situation. By learning to inhabit your life, the ever-present energy of the now you, find a place of deep stillness and power from which you can deal with your life situation far more effectively. Action that comes from the frantic, time-bound mind of the ego is often dysfunctional and creates more problems than it solves. But action that arises from the deep stillness and intelligence of present moment awareness is wise, powerful, and aligned with the flow of the universe. When you begin to live in this way, you make a startling discovery. You realize that almost all of your suffering, your stress, your anxiety was caused by one thing: your non-acceptance of the present moment. It was caused by the gap between the reality of what is and the story in your head of what should be. Suffering is the friction generated when your mind argues with reality. But what is the purpose of this friction? Why is the human mind seemingly designed to create this suffering through its resistance to the now? Is it just a flaw in our design, or does this suffering itself hold a sacred purpose? By seeing how our pain is generated by our flight from the now, we are led to question the very nature of that pain. We begin to see it not as an enemy to be avoided, but as a teacher to be understood. This brings us face to face with the sacred nature of suffering itself. You are learning to anchor yourself in the now, the only place where life exists, the only point of true power. And from this steady vantage point, you have observed that your suffering arises from your resistance to this moment, your mental argument with what is. This naturally brings us to a profound inquiry into the nature of suffering itself. Why does it exist? Is it a flaw in the design of life, a cosmic cruelty, a punishment for some forgotten crime? The great spiritual traditions of the world offer a revolutionary answer. Suffering is not a punishment, it is a messenger. It is perhaps the most powerful and effective spiritual teacher you will ever have, if you can learn to listen to its message instead of trying to silence its voice. To understand this, we must first make a crucial distinction between two different words: pain and suffering. Pain is an inevitable part of life. As long as you exist in a physical body, in a world of duality, time, and change, there will be pain. There will be the physical pain of sickness, injury, and old age. There will be the emotional pain of loss, of disappointment, of seeing others in distress. This pain is clean. It is a raw, pure, impersonal sensation and emotion. It is the weather of human existence. It comes and it goes. Suffering, on the other hand, is not inevitable. It is an optional extra. It is the secondary layer of resistance, storytelling, and judgment that our minds add on top of the clean pain. If pain is the initial sharp sting of the arrow, suffering is the second arrow we shoot into ourselves by lamenting, "Why me? This shouldn't have happened. It's unbearable. It will never end." Suffering is the friction between the reality of the pain and our desire for reality to be different. It is the clenched fist around the hot coal. The pain is the heat of the coal. The suffering is the clenching. Life will present you with pain, but your suffering is created entirely by your own mind. Once you see this, you realize that suffering is a spiritual alarm bell. It is a signal, a flashing red light on the dashboard of your consciousness, trying to get your attention. It is telling you one of two things. First, it may be telling you that you are attached to something impermanent. You only suffer when something you are clinging to is taken away or threatened. If you suffer because you lost your job, The suffering is not in the loss itself. It is a signal of your deep attachment to that job for your security or your identity. If you suffer from criticism, the suffering is a signal of your attachment to the approval of others. Suffering, in this way, is a divine spotlight. It mercilessly illuminates every chain, every attachment, every place where you are not free. It shows you the bars of your own cage. Second, suffering is a signal that you are believing a lie. Your inner state of peace is your natural condition. Suffering arises when your mind believes a thought that is out of alignment with reality, with truth. If you believe the thought, "I need this person to love me in order to be whole," you are setting yourself up for immense suffering, because this belief is a lie. Your wholeness is innate and unconditional. The suffering that arises from the other person's actions is a messenger trying to tell you this foundational belief is false. It is causing you pain. It is time to let it go and see the truth of your own completeness. Every painful emotion is a form of spiritual feedback. It is showing you where your thinking is misaligned with the truth of your being. There is a beautiful saying, often attributed to the poet Rumi, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Think of the ego as a smooth, hard, impenetrable shell. It is polished, strong, and self-contained. It feels safe inside, but no light can get in. A great pain, a deep suffering, is a crack in this shell. The ego screams in terror. It sees the crack as a flaw, a weakness, a sign of being broken. It rushes to patch it up, to hide it, to pretend it never happened. But the soul understands something different. The soul knows that the crack is an opening. It is the necessary fissure through which grace can finally pour in. It is through the wound of loss that you discover what is truly essential. It is through the wound of failure that you discover the humility and resilience you never knew you had. It is through the wound of heartbreak that your heart is broken open, expanding its capacity to hold not only your own pain, but the pain of the world, which is the beginning of compassion. Your suffering is not designed to diminish you. It is designed to break you open, to shatter the false so that the true may be revealed. The practice, then, is not to avoid suffering or even to be rid of it. The practice is to learn how to meet it. When a wave of suffering arises, the conditioned response is to run. We distract ourselves with work, entertainment, addictions. We numb ourselves. We suppress the feeling, pushing it down into the dark basement of our consciousness where it festers and mutates, only to emerge later with greater force. The path of awakening requires the opposite. It requires courage. It requires you to turn around and face the wave. You stop, you breathe, and you allow yourself to feel. You drop the story the mind is telling, the why me and it's not fair. You release the narrative and turn your attention to the raw, physical sensation of the emotion in your body. Where is it? A tightness in the throat? A heaviness in the chest? A hollow pit in the stomach? You bring a kind, curious awareness to this sensation. You breathe into it. You meet its intense, uncomfortable energy with the soft, allowing, accepting energy of your presence. You are not trying to fix it or change it. You are simply offering it the sanctuary of your awareness. When you do this, a transformation occurs. By removing the fuel of resistance and mental storytelling, you stop creating suffering. The clean pain may still be present, but the struggle, the agony, the secondary layer of torment begins to dissolve. You learn that you can be with intense pain without creating a story of suffering around it. You discover a strength and stillness within you that is deeper than any pain. You learn that you are the vast, silent sky that can hold any storm without being harmed by it. And something else happens. As you learn to hold your own pain with this kind of gentle, non-judgmental awareness, your heart naturally softens. Your suffering ceases to be a personal, isolating tragedy and becomes your point of connection to all of humanity. When you see another person acting out in anger, greed, or fear, you no longer see a bad person. You see a fellow being in the grip of suffering, a soul clenching their fist around their own hot coal. Your judgment dissolves, and is replaced by a felt sense of understanding. Your own journey through the dark valley of your pain has given you a map to the heart of another. This is the birth of true compassion. It is a wisdom born not from books or ideas, but forged in the sacred fire of your own transformed suffering. You have walked through the fire of your own suffering, not as a victim, but as a conscious observer. You have learned to meet your pain with the soft, allowing presence of your awareness, and in doing so, you have discovered a profound alchemy. The lead of your personal agony, when held in the warmth of your attention, begins to transform into the gold of a wider wisdom. Your heart, perhaps once guarded and constricted by its own hurts, has been broken open, and through that sacred opening, a new quality of light begins to shine. This light is compassion. We must be very clear about what compassion is, for it is often confused with its distant, paler cousins, pity and sympathy. Pity looks down from above. It says, "Oh, you poor thing," and in doing so, it reinforces the separation between the helper and the helpless. It is an act of the ego. Sympathy stands at the edge of the pit of another's pain and offers words of comfort from the safe ground above. It feels for another, which is a kind gesture, but it maintains the boundary. That is your pain, and I am here. Compassion, however, takes the radical step of climbing down into the pit. It does not necessarily try to pull the other person out. It simply sits with them in the darkness and says, "I am here with you. I know this place. You are not alone." Compassion is the visceral, embodied recognition of shared being. It is the feeling of witness. It is the wisdom of the heart that knows there is no fundamental difference between me and you. This profound state cannot be fabricated. It cannot be willed into existence by a mind that believes in being a good person. True compassion is not a moral achievement. It is a natural consequence of your own inner work. It is the fragrance that inevitably emanates from a soul that has learned to be kind to itself. This is the crucial starting point. You cannot offer water to another from an empty well. For most of your life, the voice of the echo chamber has been your own harshest critic. It has judged you, shamed you, and held you to impossible standards. You would never speak to a friend, or even a stranger, with the relentless cruelty you have reserved for yourself. The first and most courageous act of compassion is to turn its healing gaze inward. It is to begin treating yourself as you would a beloved child who is hurting. It is the willingness to forgive yourself for not knowing what you didn't know before you learned it. It is the grace to accept your own imperfections, your own stumbles, your own humanity. Let this be a practice. Place your hand over your heart. Feel its warmth. Feel the gentle rhythm of your own life force, and offer yourself the kindness you have so freely given to others. You can say silently, "May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be gentle with myself." You are not just saying words. You are generating a frequency, the soothing frequency of self-acceptance. You are directing the light of your awareness, now imbued with a newfound gentleness, toward the wounded parts of your own being. You are sitting with yourself in the dark. As you practice this, as you learn to hold your own being in a cradle of self-compassion, your entire energetic signature begins to change. The harsh, contracted frequency of self-judgment begins to soften and expand into the warm, open frequency of love. You stop being a war zone and start becoming a sanctuary. And only from this inner sanctuary can you truly connect with another. Imagine the universe as a grand, cosmic symphony. Every single being, every person, every animal, every tree, every star is a unique instrument, playing its own note, its own melody, which is its life. The ego is an instrument that is obsessed with its own sound. It wants to be the loudest, the most complex, the most praised. It is deaf to the rest of the orchestra, and so it creates dissonance. Compassion is the art of musicianship. It is the ability to quiet your own instrument for a moment and truly listen. You listen to the note being played by the person in front of you. You hear the sharp, jarring note of their anger. You hear the deep, sorrowful note of their grief. You hear the trembling, uncertain note of their fear. And because you have done your own inner work, because you have familiarized yourself with the sound of your own inner orchestra, you recognize the tune. You have played that note of grief yourself. You know the texture of that fear. And in that moment of shared recognition, a resonance occurs. You feel with them. You don't need to fix their note. You simply adjust your own playing to harmonize with theirs. You offer a soft, steady chord of presence to their trembling melody. You offer the deep, resonant drone of understanding beneath their sharp cry of pain. This is a compassionate action. You are not fixing. You are harmonizing. And in doing so, the entire symphony becomes more beautiful, more coherent, more whole. The true test of compassion is to extend it to those who are difficult, to those who have hurt you. This does not mean condoning harmful actions. Actions must be seen with clarity for what they are. But compassion looks beyond the action to its source. It is the profound understanding that people's harmful actions are almost always a distorted expression of their own suffering. Hurt people. A person who acts with cruelty is a person in the grip of a deep inner torment. A person who lies and manipulates is a person drowning in a sea of fear and insecurity. Their actions are the clumsy, tragic strategies of a soul that is profoundly disconnected from its own light. To feel compassion for them is to look at their destructive behavior and whisper to yourself, "What agony must you be in to be acting this way?" It is to feel the pain of their clenched fist, even as you protect yourself from the coal they are brandishing. This is the godlike power of compassion. It allows you to remain open-hearted, even in the face of negativity. When you live from this state, you begin to see the world not as a collection of separate, competing individuals, but as an intricate, interwoven tapestry of shared consciousness. You realize that every act of kindness you offer to another, you are also offering to yourself. Every judgment you cast upon another, you are also casting upon yourself. There is no separation. Compassion is the felt experience of this unity. It is an echo of the universe's fundamental truth, the truth of oneness. When you feel true compassion, your heart is vibrating in harmony with the heart of the cosmos. You are no longer just a person feeling an emotion. You are the universe itself, becoming aware of its own pain and wrapping itself in a blanket of its own love through the vessel of you. This perception of profound interconnectedness, this seeing of the intricate web of cause and effect that links us all through our actions and our suffering, leads us directly to a deeper understanding of one of the universe's most elegant and misunderstood laws. It prepares us to look at the vast, impersonal, and perfect mirroring system that governs our shared reality, the law of karma. You are beginning to perceive the world not as a collection of separate objects and isolated events, but as a single, breathing organism, an intricate web of consciousness in which you play an integral part. Through the lens of compassion, you have felt this interconnectedness in your heart. Now, we will explore the fundamental law that governs this web, the silent, intelligent engine that drives the unfolding of all experience. This law is known as karma. In the modern world, this word has been shrouded in misconception and fear. It has been twisted into a primitive system of cosmic reward and punishment, a judgmental eye in the sky keeping a tally of your good and bad deeds to be settled in a future life. This interpretation, born of fear, has obscured the profound and liberating truth of karma. To understand its power, you must first release all notions of judgment, punishment, and reward. Karma is not a moral law. It is a natural law, as neutral, as impersonal, and as reliable as gravity. The universe is not judging you, it is mirroring you. Karma is the law of cause and effect applied to the realm of consciousness. It is the spiritual equivalent of Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take is a cause. It is a vibration, a ripple of energy that you send out into the unified field of existence. And because you are part of a unified field, not a separate entity, That ripple cannot simply disappear. By law, it must complete its circuit. It travels outward, interacts with the whole, and eventually returns to its point of origin. That point of origin is you. The returning ripple is the effect. It is not a reward. It is not a punishment. It is simply the original energy, now matured and reflected, returning home for you to experience. Karma is a perfect, non-judgmental feedback system. Let us use a simpler metaphor. Your consciousness is a vast and fertile garden. Your will, your focus, your energy, these are your gardening tools. Every single moment of your life, you are planting seeds in this garden. Your thoughts are seeds. Your words are seeds. Your actions are seeds. If you plant seeds of anger, resentment, gossip, and deceit, what kind of garden will you cultivate? It will be filled with thorny bushes, poisonous weeds, and bitter fruit. When you walk through your inner and outer world, you will be scratched by conflict, sickened by betrayal, and malnourished by a lack of genuine connection. Is this a punishment? Number? It is simply the natural, inevitable harvest of the seeds you chose to plant. You are experiencing the nature of your own creations. If, on the other hand, you consciously choose to plant seeds of kindness, generosity, forgiveness, and truth, what will your garden look like? It will blossom with fragrant flowers, grow trees that offer nourishing fruit and cooling shade. Your inner and outer world will become a place of beauty, peace, and sustenance. Is this a reward? Number? It is the simple, elegant result of your conscious gardening. Karma is the law that ensures you will always, without fail, eat the fruit from the trees you have planted. The primary purpose of this feedback system is not to balance some cosmic scale of justice, but to teach. Karma is a master teacher, and its classroom is your life. Its method is purely experiential. When you send out the energy of judgment and criticism, and in return you experience being judged and criticized by others, the universe is not punishing you. It is giving you a powerful lesson. It is allowing you to feel, from the receiving end, the precise quality of the energy you created. It is asking you, this is what judgment feels like. Is this what you wish to create more of? When you perform an act of selfless kindness, and later an unexpected kindness is shown to you, the universe is teaching you about the nature of grace and generosity. It is showing you, through direct experience, the beautiful resonance of that frequency. Karma is a perfect mirror, held up to you in every moment, reflecting your own state of consciousness back to you so that you may learn, evolve, and ultimately align your creations with the harmony of the whole. This understanding liberates you from the chains of fear and fatalism. Karma is not a predetermined destiny written in stone. You are not eternally doomed by your past mistakes. Yes, the seeds you have planted in the past have created the garden you are standing in today. Some of the ripples you sent out long ago may still be on their way back to you. You may have to experience the effects of past actions. This is called paying a karmic debt, which is simply the process of experiencing and learning from the energy you created. But your point of power is never in the past. It is always, eternally, now. In this very moment, you are holding a handful of seeds. You have the absolute freedom to choose which ones you will plant. You can continue to sow the familiar seeds of your old conditioning, or you can choose to plant something new. Even when an old, painful ripple from the past returns to you, you have a choice. You can react with the old patterns of anger and victimhood, thereby planting more of the same thorny seeds. Or, you can meet the returning painful energy with the new consciousness you have cultivated with acceptance. With the compassion of the Watcher, and in doing so, you transform the effect of the old karma and plant a new seed of wisdom and grace. You are never a prisoner of your past. You are only a prisoner of your present choices if you continue to repeat the past. This shifts your entire orientation to life. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a conscious creator, a master gardener of your own reality. Every moment becomes an opportunity. Every interaction is a chance to plant a seed of kindness. Every challenge is a chance to plant a seed of resilience. Every thought is a chance to cultivate a garden of peace. This immense responsibility and power leads to a more subtle and profound question. We have said that thoughts, words, and actions are seeds. But what gives the seed its essential character? What is the genetic code inside the seed that determines what it will become? Two people can perform the exact same action, yet create entirely different karmic results. One person gives money to a homeless man out of a genuine, heartfelt upwelling of compassion. Another person gives the same amount of money because they see someone watching and want to appear generous. The external action is identical, but the seeds planted are worlds apart. One is a seed of pure love. The other is a seed of egoic pride. The nature of the seed is determined by the invisible energy that propels the action. It is determined by the silent force that guides your hand and your tongue. This force is your intention. As you learn to quiet the mind and plant the seeds of your reality with pure, unwavering intention, something remarkable begins to happen. The rigid wall that you once perceived between your inner world and the outer world starts to become porous. The boundary between self and universe thins. You begin to notice that the world is not a static, random collection of objects and events, but a living, intelligent field that is in constant communication with you. This communication does not come in the form of a loud, booming voice from the heavens. It comes as a whisper. It comes as a wink. It comes as a series of meaningful coincidences that are so perfectly timed and personally relevant that they stop you in your tracks and fill you with a sense of wonder. This is the language of synchronicity. Synchronicity is a term coined by the great psychologist Carl Jung to describe a coincidence that is not merely a matter of chance, but is imbued with a profound sense of meaning. It is the experience of your inner state being perfectly mirrored by an outer event in a way that feels both startling and significant. You are wrestling with a difficult decision, feeling lost and uncertain, and you walk past a bookstore where a book in the window seems to leap out at you, its title holding the very answer you were seeking. You think of a friend you haven't spoken to in a decade, and your phone rings with their name on the screen. You ask the universe for a sign that you are on the right path, and for the rest of the day, you see a specific sequence of numbers, 1111, 444, 222 on license plates, clocks, and receipts, a pattern that feels like a personal code, a confirmation just for you. You overhear a snippet of a stranger's conversation that contains the exact piece of advice you needed to hear. This is the universe whispering to you. The rational mind, the ego, dismisses these events as mere chance, as confirmation bias. It is afraid of them because they point to a reality that it cannot control or understand, a reality where everything is intelligently interconnected. But your deeper self, the silent watcher within, recognizes the truth of these moments. It feels the resonance. It understands that you have just witnessed a ripple in the unified field, a place where mind and matter are not separate. Synchronicity is the evidence that your inner work is having an effect. It is the external world rearranging itself to reflect the changes you have made in your own consciousness. Imagine you are embarking on a journey through a vast, uncharted wilderness. Your intuition, your inner knowing, is your compass. Your intention is the destination you have set on your map. As you begin to walk, you are guided by this inner compass, but at times you may feel uncertain. Am I going the right way? Is this truly the path? It is at these moments that the living intelligence of the wilderness itself offers you reassurance. It places signposts along your way, a uniquely shaped stone that seems to point the way, a specific bird that appears every time you are heading in the right direction, a sudden shaft of sunlight that illuminates the correct path at a fork in the road. These are the synchronicities. They are not creating the path for you, but they are confirming that you are walking it correctly. They are loving affirmations from the universe saying, yes, keep going, you are heard, you are seen, you are being guided. So why do these events occur? They are a natural result of the principles we have been exploring. When you clarify your intention, and align your energy with it, you begin to vibrate at a new frequency. According to the law of resonance, you become tuned in to everything in the universe that shares that frequency. Synchronicity is simply you beginning to notice the other things that are vibrating on your new channel. It's not that they weren't there before. It's that you were not tuned to perceive them. You were broadcasting on the frequency of static and chaos, so that is what you perceived. Now that you are broadcasting a clear signal of purpose and trust, you begin to perceive the clear, purposeful, and trustworthy reflections that have been waiting for you all along. You are not separate from the web of life. You are a vital node within it. Your clear intention sends a coherent ripple through the entire web, and synchronicity is the web rippling back at you, acknowledging your signal. It is the universe having a conversation with itself, through you. You cannot force synchronicity. To try and manifest a specific sign is an act of the ego, an act of distrust, and it will muddy the waters. Instead, you cultivate the inner conditions that make you a clear receiver for the universe's whispers. First, you maintain clarity of intention, as we have discussed. A clear broadcast gets a clear signal back. Second, you must practice non-attachment. Be open to how the guidance will appear. You might be looking for a feather and miss the billboard. Trust that the universe's creativity is infinitely greater than your own. Third, you must be present. You cannot see the signposts if your head is down, lost in thoughts of yesterday or tomorrow. You must be here, now, with your senses open, observing the world around you with a gentle, curious awareness. And finally, you must cultivate trust. You must trust that you are always being guided, even during periods when the signs seem to disappear. These quiet periods are often tests of faith, inviting you to rely on your inner compass when the outer reassurance is absent. Trust itself is a powerful, high frequency that opens the channels of communication. Living in this way transforms your life from a solitary struggle into a magical, interactive dance with the cosmos. You begin to walk through the world with an attitude of wonder and expectation, asking, "How will the universe speak to me today?" The world ceases to be a cold, indifferent place and becomes your confidant, your co-creator, your loving guide. This state of being, where you are so aligned with your intention, so present in the moment, and so open to the whispers of the universe, is a state of profound harmony. You are no longer fighting the current of life, pushing against it with your own will. You have merged with it. You are no longer a rock in the river. You have become the river itself. This effortless, graceful, and powerful state of consciousness has a name. It is known as the flow state, and it is in this state that your actions become their most powerful, and your connection to the universal intelligence becomes its most direct. You are learning to read the whispers of the universe, to recognize the synchronicities that affirm your path. You are discovering that life is not a monologue you must shout into the void, but a dialogue with a living, responsive cosmos. As you lean into this dialogue, as you trust the guidance and align your intention with the unfolding of the now, you begin to experience a state of consciousness that is both exhilarating and profoundly peaceful. It is a state where you are no longer the rock resisting the river, but the river itself. This is the flow state, and it is the experience of perfect spiritual alignment. Psychologists describe flow as a state of optimal performance, the secret of great athletes, artists, and innovators. It is a state of being so completely immersed in an activity that everything else disappears. Your sense of self, the chattering ego with its fears and desires, simply dissolves. Your perception of time becomes distorted. Hours melt into minutes. The action feels effortless, graceful, as if you are being moved by a force greater than yourself. There is a deep, intrinsic joy in the process itself, regardless of the outcome. But this is not merely a psychological phenomenon. It is a profound spiritual state. Flow is the merging of doing and being. It is the moment when your personal will becomes one with the universal will. It is the experience of the universe acting through you. Imagine a master surfer paddling out to meet the great waves of the ocean. The ocean is the infinite energy of life, and the waves are the challenges and opportunities of the present moment. The novice, operating from the ego, sees the wave as an adversary. He is tense, his mind filled with calculations and fear. He tries to conquer the wave, to impose his will upon it. He fights its immense power, and he is inevitably cast off, tumbled in the chaos of the water. His experience is one of struggle, effort, and failure. The master surfer, however, approaches the wave with reverence. He does not see an adversary. He sees a partner. He studies the wave, feels its rhythm, its power, its intention. He does not fight it. He aligns with it. He paddles not against it, but with it, becoming one with its momentum. At the perfect, intuitive moment he stands, and the dance begins. He is not surfing the wave is surfing him. He and the wave are a single, fluid expression of energy. His mind is silent. There is no surfer, no wave, only the seamless, joyful, and powerful act of surfing. This is flow. It is the supreme art of surrendering your small, separate will to the magnificent power of the whole, and in that surrender, finding a freedom and capability you never knew you possessed. This is the state you have touched in moments of your own life. The musician who becomes the music, her fingers flying across the keys without conscious thought. The writer who looks up from the page to find that hours have passed and the words have poured out from an unknown source. The gardener who loses all track of time, completely absorbed in the feel of the soil and the life of the plants. The programmer who enters a state of deep focus and solves a complex problem with a solution that seems to arrive fully formed. In these moments, you were not just doing something well. You were being a pure conduit for the creative intelligence of the universe. The joy you felt was the joy of your soul being used for its true purpose, as a channel for life to express itself. You get out of your own way, and God, the universe, the Tao, flows through. Like synchronicity, you cannot force the flow state with the brute will of the ego. To try to get into flow is a contradiction that will ensure you remain outside of it. The ego's grasping effort is the very thing that blocks the current. However, you can learn to become the master surfer. You can learn to create the inner and outer conditions that invite the wave of flow to arise. First, you must have a clear focus. The mind needs a single point of attention to anchor it in the present. Whether the task is complex or simple, know what you are doing. Second, you must eliminate distractions. Flow requires your undivided presence. The modern world is an engine of distraction, constantly pulling your awareness outward. To find flow, you must create a sacred space, free from the interruptions of your phone, your email, your to-do list. Third, you must find the delicate balance between challenge and skill. The task cannot be so easy that your mind wanders into boredom, nor so difficult that it floods with the anxiety of failure. It must stretch you, just enough to require your full being. But the final and most crucial condition is a spiritual one. You must surrender the outcome. You must fall in love with the process, not the prize. The moment your mind shifts its focus to, what will people think of this? Or will I succeed? Or how can I profit from this? The ego rushes back onto the stage. The sense of self returns, and the magic is shattered. You are cast out of the wave. To enter flow, you must engage in the activity for its own sake, as a form of play, as a devotional act. The joy is not in the finished painting, but in the stroke of the brush. The peace is not in the clean kitchen, but in the feeling of warm water on your hands. This is a radical reorientation. It is the shift from a goal-oriented life to a process-oriented life. And this is where the greatest liberation occurs. Flow is not just reserved for grand creative projects or athletic feats. It is available to you in every moment, in the most mundane of actions. You can enter a flow state while washing the dishes. Instead of seeing it as a chore to be rushed through while your mind worries about the future, you bring your full presence to it. You feel the warmth of the water. You notice the rainbow colors in the soap bubbles. You listen to the sound of the plate becoming clean under the sponge. There is only the washing. And in that simple act, you can find a state of peace and alignment as profound as any meditation. You can find flow while walking. Let go of the destination and simply walk. Feel the rhythm of your body, the sensation of your feet connecting with the earth, the play of light and shadow through the leaves. The walking becomes a dance. You can find flow in a conversation by listening with your entire being without formulating your response. You merge with the shared space of communication, and understanding flows effortlessly. When you begin to approach your life in this way, every mundane task becomes an opportunity for spiritual practice. Every moment becomes a potential gateway to union with the divine. The separation between the sacred and the profane, between meditation and life, dissolves. Your life itself becomes a moving meditation. You learn to surf the waves of your daily existence with grace, power, and joy. And as you do, you begin to see the world differently. The ordinary objects and routines of your life are no longer obstacles to be overcome on the way to some future happiness. They are the very substance of your spiritual path. They become infused with a light, a significance, a sacredness you had never seen before. The state of flow has opened a doorway for you. It has shown you that profound peace and purpose can be found not just on a meditation cushion or in a moment of dramatic insight, but within the rhythm of your own daily actions. This is a crucial realization, for it begins to dismantle one of the greatest and most persistent spiritual illusions: the idea that enlightenment is an escape from ordinary life. Many of us secretly harbor a fantasy of what it means to be awakened. We imagine a life free from bills and traffic, a life of serene contemplation on a remote mountaintop, a state of perpetual bliss where the messy, mundane details of human existence can no longer touch us. This desire for escape is not a spiritual aspiration. It is a subtle trick of the ego. It is the ego's final attempt to convince you that happiness is somewhere else, that peace is in some other time, that the sacred is in some other place. But the truth is infinitely more intimate and more radical. Enlightenment is not about leaving the world behind. It is about becoming so fully, so unconditionally present for the world that you finally see it for what it has always been, the sacred ground of your own being. There is a classic Zen story that illuminates this perfectly. A young seeker approaches a wise old Zen master and asks, "Master, what did you do before you were enlightened?" The master replies, "I chopped wood and I carried water." The seeker, pondering this, then asks, "And what do you do now, after you have attained enlightenment?" The master smiles and replies, "I chop wood and I carry water." The seeker is confused. Then what has changed? What is the difference? The master says, "Before enlightenment, when I was chopping wood, I was thinking about carrying the water. And when I was carrying the water, I was thinking about what I would eat for dinner. Now, when I chop wood, there is only the chopping of wood. When I carry the water, there is only the carrying of water." This is the entire secret. The enlightened life is not a change in your activities. It is a profound change in the quality of consciousness you bring to your activities. Before awakening, your life is a series of means to an end. You wash the dishes so that the kitchen will be clean. You drive to work so that you can earn money. You eat your food so that you can have energy. Each act is a stepping stone to a future moment, and so the present moment, where life actually is never truly lived. It is rushed through, endured, and sacrificed for a future that never arrives. After awakening, this entire orientation collapses. Each moment, each action, becomes an end in itself. It is a complete universe, a sacred ritual deserving of your full presence. When you are washing a dish, there is only the feeling of the warm water on your skin, the scent of the soap, the sound of the porcelain becoming clean. The act is not a chore, it is a moving meditation. It is an opportunity to be fully alive. The divine intelligence that animates the stars and guides the galaxies is the very same intelligence present in the simple act of washing a dish. To be fully present for that act is to be in communion with that intelligence. To quote the poet William Blake, "It is to learn to see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." Infinity is not in some distant nebula. It is in the texture of the wooden table under your palm. Eternity is not in a future paradise. It is in the taste of this sip of tea, right now. The world has taught you to divide reality into two categories, the sacred and the profane. The sacred things are in the temple, the church, the ashram. They are the holy books, the special occasions, the moments of prayer and meditation. The profane things are the rest of your life. The laundry, the commute, the emails, the dirty floors. And you live your life trying to get through the profane in order to have a few moments with the sacred. This duality is the source of a deep and constant dissatisfaction. But it is a false duality. It is a fiction created by a mind that cannot see the seamless whole of existence. There is nothing that is not sacred. The breath that moves in your lungs without your command is utterly sacred. The intricate network of fungi beneath the forest floor is sacred. The anger of a frustrated child is sacred. The worn-out fabric of your favorite chair is sacred. Everything is a manifestation of the one, single, mysterious, and holy reality. To awaken is to see this. It is to stop searching for God in special places and to begin recognizing God in every place. This is not an abstract philosophy. It is a practice. It is the practice of consciously bringing reverence to the mundane. It is the decision to transform your chores into rituals. When you wake in the morning, as you take your first sip of coffee or tea, do not do it automatically while your mind is already racing ahead to the problems of the day. Stop. For 1 minute, just be with the cup. Feel its warmth and weight in your hands. Inhale its aroma. Take the first sip with your full attention. Feel the liquid on your tongue, the warmth spreading through your chest. In that 1 minute, you have transformed a habit into a ceremony. You have anchored yourself in the sacredness of the now. When you eat, take the first bite in silence. Contemplate the miracle of the food before you. Consider the sun, the soil, the water, the farmer, the truck driver, the grocer, the vast, interconnected web of life and effort that culminated in this nourishment on your plate. Eating is no longer just refueling. It becomes an act of profound gratitude and communion with the entire earth. When you walk from your car to your front door, do not be lost in your phone or in your thoughts. Feel your feet making contact with the ground. Notice the subtle shifts in the air against your skin. Look at the familiar shape of your own door as if seeing it for the first time. Each of these moments is an invitation. The universe is constantly inviting you to step out of the noisy dream of thought and into the vibrant, sacred reality of the present. By accepting these small invitations throughout your day, you begin to weave a thread of presence and peace through the fabric of your entire life. You are no longer living for the weekend, for the vacation, for retirement. You are living now. You are finding the kingdom of heaven not in a future promise, but in the grain of sand of this present moment. As you practice seeing the sacred in all things, a final, beautiful transformation begins to occur. The boundary between you, the observer, and the world you are observing starts to dissolve. When you are fully present with the cup of tea, where do you end and where does the cup begin? There is only a single, unified field of experience. The warmth, the aroma, the taste, the feeling in the hand, all happening within the one space of your consciousness. When you see the sacredness in the face of another person, you recognize the same sacred light that shines within you. The feeling of being a separate I, a lonely ego trapped inside a body, begins to melt away. You realize you are not a drop of water in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop. This dawning realization that your true self is not separate from the world but is the very consciousness in which the world appears, leads you to confront the deepest illusion of all, the illusion of separation. You have begun to find the sacred in the mundane, in the steam rising from a cup of tea, in the rhythm of your own breathing, in the quiet dignity of a tree. You have started to perceive a single, unified presence. And in these moments of pure seeing, the rigid line between you, the subject, and the world, the object, has begun to soften and blur. This is not a trick of the imagination. It is the beginning of your awakening to the most profound truth of existence and the unraveling of the most painful illusion that humanity has ever known, the illusion of separation. At the root of all your fear, all your loneliness, all your conflict, is a single fundamental belief. The belief that you are a separate self, a fragile me isolated inside a body, navigating a world that is not me. From the moment you learned your name, you began to build the story of this separate character. Your skin became the frontier between your world and the world outside. Your memories became your personal history. Your thoughts became your private territory. And from this perceived fragmentation, all our sorrows are born. The separate self is by its very nature afraid. It feels small and vulnerable in a vast, indifferent cosmos. It is lonely, for it feels disconnected from all other beings. It is competitive and defensive, for it must protect its little territory and accumulate resources to ensure its survival. This feeling of being a solitary fragment is the core wound of the human condition. But this feeling, as real and as powerful as it seems, is a profound illusion. It is a dream from which you are now beginning to stir. Consider the ocean. From the surface, it appears as a multitude of individual waves. Each wave has its own birth as it swells from the deep. It has its own life, a unique journey across the surface, with its own shape, its own power, its own character. And it has its own death as it crashes upon the shore, dissolving into foam. A wave, from its own limited perspective, would see itself as a separate entity. It would look at the other waves as its companions or its rivals. It would fear the great impersonal power of the ocean beneath it, and it would live in constant terror of its own inevitable end. But what is a wave, in reality? Is it truly a separate thing? Number A wave is nothing more than the ocean itself, rising up to express itself in a temporary form. The wave is not in the ocean. The wave is the ocean. Its birth is not a beginning, but the ocean's swelling. Its death is not an end, in which something is lost, but a returning, the ocean receding back into itself. The water that formed that wave is not destroyed. It is instantly reclaimed by the whole, ready to rise again in a new form. You have spent your entire life believing you are the wave. You have identified with your temporary form this body, this personality, this life story. You have feared other waves, competed with them, and felt fundamentally separate from them. And you have feared your own dissolution, your death, as the ultimate annihilation. The spiritual awakening is the process of the wave realizing its true identity. It is the sudden, breathtaking recognition. I am not the wave. I am the entire ocean. In that single instant of seeing, the whole paradigm shatters. The fear of death loses its grip, for how can the ocean die? It only changes its form. The feeling of loneliness evaporates, for how can the ocean be lonely? It is all there is. The need to compete and defend dissolves, for how can the ocean compete with itself? This is not just a beautiful metaphor. It is the truth that mystics of all traditions have pointed to for millennia. The Hindu sages declared, Atman is Brahmanthe, individual soul is one with the absolute, universal consciousness. The Buddha taught the doctrine of Anatman, or no self, the realization that there is no fixed, separate, individual entity at our core. The Christian mystics spoke of unio mystica, the mystical union with the divine, a state in which the illusion of the separate self dissolves into the boundless presence of God. Now, even modern physics echoes this ancient wisdom, suggesting a universe that is a single, undivided whole, a web of interconnected energy in which every particle is intrinsically linked to every other particle, regardless of distance. The illusion of separation is crumbling under the combined weight of both our deepest spiritual insights and our most advanced scientific inquiries. So what does it mean to truly live from this understanding? It means the end of your existential loneliness. That deep, gnawing feeling of being alone in the universe is a symptom of believing you are the wave. When you know yourself as the ocean, you realize that you are intimately connected to everything that exists. You are connected to the person sitting next to you, to the tree outside your window, to the most distant star in the night sky. The same life that animates you animates them. The same consciousness that looks out through your eyes looks out through theirs. You are never, and you have never been, alone. Your sense of compassion also becomes effortless and authentic. When you understand that there is no real separation between you and another, then to harm another is, quite literally, to harm yourself. To help another is to help yourself. Kindness is no longer a moral duty you must force yourself to perform. It is the most logical, natural, and intelligent way to behave in a universe where you are one with everything. This does not mean that your unique personality, your temporary waveform, disappears. The ocean delights in expressing itself as an infinite variety of waves. Your unique talents, your quirks, your perspective, these are a precious and beautiful expression of the whole, but you no longer identify with the form as being the totality of who you are. You know yourself to be the formless ocean of consciousness, temporarily enjoying the experience of being a unique wave. You hold your individuality lightly, playfully, without the fearful, desperate clinging of the ego. You can practice experiencing this truth. Look at your hand. See it not just as your hand, but as a miracle of life, an expression of the same universal intelligence that designed a spiral galaxy. Now, look at a plant or a pet. See the life in it, the aliveness. Recognize that it is the same life that is in you, expressed in a different form. You are breathing the oxygen the plant releases. The plant is absorbing the carbon dioxide you exhale. Can you see where you end and the plant begins? Or are you a single, unified breathing system? Now, if you can, look into the eyes of another person. Look past their social mask, past their personality. Try to see the still, silent awareness that resides behind their eyes. And recognize that it is the very same silent, aware presence that is looking out from behind your own. In that moment of shared seeing, the illusion of two separate selves can momentarily collapse, leaving only the reality of one consciousness, recognizing itself. When you truly begin to see the world in this way, you realize that every other person you meet is not truly other. They are another manifestation of you. They are a mirror. The universe, in its infinite intelligence and compassion, is constantly sending these mirrors to you to show you yourself. And the mirrors that are often the most valuable, the most instructive, are the ones that are the most difficult to look at. The people who trigger you, who challenge you, who reflect back to you the parts of yourself that you have yet to embrace. You have found the sacred in the mundane, the eternal in the temporal. In the heart of the ordinary, you have touched an extraordinary peace. This presence, which you found in a cup of tea, in the act of walking, is not separate from you. It is the very ground of your being. As you learn to rest in this awareness, you may notice a strange and wonderful thing happening. The feeling of being a small, isolated self, a lonely observer looking out at a separate world, begins to fade. That deep background hum of alienation, the feeling of being a solitary island in a vast and indifferent sea, starts to quiet down. This is because you are approaching the root of all human suffering. You are coming face to face with the great foundational dream from which all other nightmares are born, the illusion of separation. From your earliest moments, you were taught that you are a separate entity. You were given a name, a body, a story. A line was drawn in the sand between me and not me, between mine and yours. This sense of being a separate self, or ego, was a necessary tool for navigating the physical world, but it was never meant to be your true identity. It was a temporary costume, a role to be played. The great tragedy of humanity is that we have forgotten we are wearing a costume. We have become fused with the role. We truly believe that we are this limited, fragile, separate self, and this belief is the source of all our fear. The separate self must constantly defend itself because it is afraid of other separate selves. It must accumulate because it feels a deep sense of lack. And most of all, it fears its own death, because the end of its body and its story is the only end it can conceive of. The story of humanity is the story of these frightened, separate selves, desperately seeking love and security while simultaneously building walls to protect themselves from each other. But the mystics, the sages, and the deepest truths of science all point to a different reality. They whisper a truth that your soul already knows. Separation is an illusion. Your true nature is not that of a solitary island, but of the entire ocean. Imagine a single wave rising from the sea. It has a distinct form, a unique trajectory, a temporary existence. From its own vantage point, it is an individual. It travels, it crests, it crashes, it sees other waves around it and believes them to be separate. But what is the wave truly made of? What is its substance? It is made of water. And what is the ocean made of? It is also made of water. There is no difference in their essential nature. The wave is simply a temporary, localized expression of the entire ocean. It is the ocean's way of playing, of dancing, of experiencing itself in a particular form. When the wave crashes on the shore, is it destroyed? Does the water cease to exist? Number. The form dissolves, but the substance, the water, remains. It merges back into the whole, its essence untouched, ready to rise again as a new wave. You have been living your life as if you are the wave, terrified of the crash. The spiritual awakening is the dawning realization within the wave itself of a profound truth. I am the ocean. The moment this is seen, not just as an idea, but as a felt reality, the entire structure of fear collapses. The fear of death is exposed as a misunderstanding because the ocean cannot die. It only changes its expression. The ache of loneliness is revealed to be impossible because the ocean is always one with itself. The desperate need to protect and defend your little wave self is seen as a foolish and exhausting game. You are not a fragment of the universe. You are the entire universe, experiencing itself in this particular place and time, through this particular body and mind. This is the ultimate homecoming. It is the end of your long exile. The feeling of me against the world dissolves into the peaceful realization that me is the world. The same intelligence that spins the galaxies is the same intelligence that is healing a cut on your finger. The same life force that pushes a blade of grass through the concrete is the same life force that is causing your heart to beat. There is only one, seamless, unified field of aliveness, and you are not just in it, you are it. To live from this awareness changes everything. Your interactions are no longer driven by the ego's hidden agenda of what can I get from this person. Instead, they become an opportunity to recognize the one consciousness in another form. You look into the eyes of another and see yourself looking back. Compassion ceases to be a moral effort and becomes a simple, spontaneous recognition of kinship. How could you intentionally harm a being whom you know, on the deepest level, to be another expression of yourself? It would be as absurd as your right hand trying to injure your left. You can practice dissolving the illusion. Go outside and look at a tree. The conventional way of seeing is, I am here and the tree is over there. This creates a subject and an object. Now, try a different way. Become aware of your breathing. As you breathe in, realize you are breathing in the oxygen that the tree has just released. As you breathe out, know that the tree is taking in the carbon dioxide you have offered it. Recognize that you and the tree are partners in a single, continuous breathing system. Where do you truly end, and where does the tree begin? The boundary is not as solid as you thought. You are participating in each other's existence. Now, apply this to your relationships. When you are with another person, listen not just to their words, but to the silence between their words. Look beyond their personality, their opinions, their social mask. Try to sense the still, aware presence that is the source of their being, the silent listener behind their thoughts. And recognize that this silent, aware presence is identical to the one within you. This is the shared self, the one ocean looking out through two sets of eyes. In these moments of deep communion, the illusion of two separate people collapses, and there is only a shared sense of being, of presence, of love. This realization that we are all expressions of a single, unified consciousness, a profound implication for our relationships. If the other is not truly other, then their appearance in your life is not a random accident. Their behavior, especially the behavior that challenges you and triggers a strong emotional reaction in you, is not just about them. The universe, in its boundless intelligence, has placed this person before you as a perfect mirror. They are here to show you something about yourself. They are a reflection of a hidden part of your own consciousness, a fragment of your own being that is calling out for your attention, for your healing, for your love. You have awakened to the truth of oneness, the profound reality that you are not a separate wave, but the entire ocean of consciousness. This realization dissolves the ache of loneliness and the fear of annihilation. It is the ultimate peace. But you do not live in a solitary state of oceanic bliss. You live in a world of relationship, a world filled with other waves. And it is here, in the messy, beautiful, and often frustrating dance of human interaction, that the truth of oneness is put to its greatest test and offers its most profound lessons. For if it is true that there is only one consciousness expressing itself in a multitude of forms, then every other person you encounter is not truly other at all. They are another face of you. They are a perfectly placed mirror, reflecting back a facet of your own being. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, has arranged these mirrors around you to help you see yourself completely. Most of us go through life believing that our emotional reactions are caused by other people. We say, "You made me angry. He is so irritating. Her presence makes me feel insecure." We see ourselves as the passive victim of the emotional states that others seem to inflict upon us. From this perspective, the only solution is to try and change, control, or avoid the other person. We try to fix the mirror. But this is a futile and exhausting game that will never bring you peace. The spiritual path invites you to a radical shift in perspective, a complete 180-degree turn of your attention. It invites you to understand that no one outside of you can make you feel anything. Your emotional reactions are not caused by others. They are triggered by others, but they arise from within your own consciousness. The other person is simply the mirror that reveals what is already inside you. Imagine you are looking into a mirror and you see a smudge of dirt on the cheek of your reflection. What is your reaction? Do you get angry at the mirror? Do you try to scrub the smudge off the surface of the glass? Do you declare that the mirror is flawed and throw it away? To do so would be absurd. You instinctively understand that the mirror is simply showing you a truth about your own face. The smudge is not on the mirror, it is on you. The mirror is not your enemy. It is your invaluable friend, providing you with crucial information that you could not see without it. The only intelligent response is to thank the mirror for its clarity, turn your attention to your own face, and gently wipe away the smudge. The moment you do, the reflection changes instantly. This is precisely how the dynamic of relationship works as a spiritual practice. The people who trigger a strong emotional charge in you, whether of intense irritation, judgment, anger, or even infatuation, are your most sacred mirrors. The strong emotion is a signal, a flashing light, telling you that you are not just seeing the other person, you are seeing a projection of a disowned part of yourself. This psychological mechanism is called projection. We all have aspects of our being that we have deemed unacceptable. Perhaps in childhood, our anger was punished, so we pushed it down into our unconscious. Perhaps our vulnerability was seen as weakness, so we learned to wear a mask of strength. These disowned parts of ourselves, our hidden arrogance, our secret insecurity, our repressed anger, our buried grief do not go away. They live in the shadow of our psyche, and because we cannot bear to see them in ourselves, we project them outward and see them with vivid, exaggerated clarity in other people. That person whose arrogance drives you to distraction is mirroring a part of your own arrogance that you refuse to acknowledge. That person whose neediness and weakness irritates you is reflecting a vulnerable, needy part of yourself that you have rejected. The intensity of your emotional charge is the measure of the intensity of your own disownment. You are not reacting to them. You are reacting to a lost piece of your own soul, reflected back at you. This understanding transforms every relationship from a potential source of conflict into a powerful opportunity for healing and integration. Your greatest spiritual teachers are not necessarily the serene masters in faraway lands. They are your spouse, your children, your boss, the difficult coworker, the sibling who knows exactly how to push your buttons. They are all gurus in disguise, holding up a mirror to show you where you are not yet free. The practice is to learn to use the mirror correctly. When you feel that familiar spark of emotional reactivity towards someone, the practice is this. First, pause. Do not speak. Do not act. Simply notice the energy of the reaction itself. Feel it in your body, the heat in your chest, the tightness in your jaw. Acknowledge its presence without judgment. Second, take radical responsibility. Withdraw the finger of blame you are pointing at the other person and turn it back toward yourself. Utter the courageous and empowering words, "This feeling is mine. It is arising within me." Third, ask the sacred question. What is this person showing me about myself? What disowned part of me is being mirrored here? This requires brutal honesty. Look for the resonance. Where in your own life do you behave in a similar way, even in a much more subtle form? If you judge them for being controlling, where are you controlling? If you judge them for being dishonest, where are you not being entirely true to yourself? Look for the fear behind the judgment. If their weakness disgusts you, is it because you are terrified of your own? This is not a search for self-blame, but for self-recognition. And when you find the connection, when you see the smudge on your own face, the final step is to meet that disowned part of yourself with compassion. You see the hidden arrogance, and instead of judging it, you wrap it in the light of your awareness. You see the rejected vulnerability, and you offer it your love and acceptance. You bring the lost sheep back into the fold. This is the act of cleaning the mirror from your own side. And when you do, a miracle happens. The other person may not change at all, but they will no longer have the power to trigger you. You have taken your projection back. You have healed a part of yourself, and the mirror no longer has anything to reflect. This principle also works for positive reflections. When you find yourself in complete awe of someone's courage, their wisdom, their boundless creativity, you are also looking in a mirror. They are reflecting back to you your own highest potential. The qualities you admire in them are latent within you, waiting to be recognized and cultivated. They are showing you the magnificent statue that lies beneath your own cloaks. They are inspiring you to become what you already are. To live this way is to make your entire life a practice of self-discovery. Every interaction becomes a holy encounter. Every relationship becomes your teacher. This honest, unflinching process of looking into the mirrors the universe provides is the very essence of inner work. It is the journey into the parts of ourselves we have refused to see. It is the courageous path of embracing your own shadow. You have learned to use the world of relationship as a sacred mirror, courageously looking at the reflections it offers you. In the faces of others, you have begun to glimpse the disowned parts of your own being, the traits you have judged, denied, and projected outward. This courageous work of taking back your projections, of wiping the smudges from your own face, is the gateway to one of the most profound and essential stages of the human journey, the integration of your shadow self. For centuries, we have been taught a spirituality of light alone. We have been told to be good, to be pure, to vanquish our dark thoughts, to overcome our negative emotions. We have created a model of the psyche that is at war with itself, a battle between our higher self and our lower self, our angels and our demons. But this model is a recipe for perpetual conflict and fragmentation. True wholeness does not come from winning a war against your darkness. It comes from realizing that the darkness is a vital and sacred part of you. It comes from turning around, extending your hand, and embracing your own shadow. The shadow, a concept brought into the light by the pioneering psychologist Carl Jung, is the unconscious repository of everything within you that you have rejected. It is the dark cellar of your soul where you have locked away every impulse, every feeling, and every trait that was deemed unacceptable by your family, your culture, and your religion. It is where your rage, your envy, your greed, and your fierce survival instincts are kept under lock and key. But it is not only the negative traits that reside here. The shadow also contains immense treasures. For many, it holds their untamed creativity, their disruptive genius, their boundless passion, their authentic power qualities that were deemed too much or too dangerous for the polite society they grew up in. The shadow is not evil. It is simply that which is unseen. And like any living thing that is locked in a basement and ignored, it does not go away. It festers, it mutates, and it pounds on the door, demanding to be seen. The shadow, when repressed, is the source of our self-sabotage, our inexplicable moods, our addictive behaviors, and our explosive, irrational reactions. It is the monster we fear, but it is a monster of our own making, created by our own neglect. Imagine you are a magnificent tree. Your conscious self, the person you present to the world, is the trunk, the branches, and the leaves. You strive to grow ever upward, toward the sun, toward the light. You want your leaves to be green and vibrant, your flowers to be beautiful, but you have been taught to be ashamed of your roots. The roots dig deep into the messy, dark, and chaotic earth. They are not pretty. They are entangled and unseen. And yet, where does the tree get its stability? Where does it draw its nourishment, its raw power, its connection to the life-giving earth? It comes from the roots. A tree that denies its roots is a shallow, unstable thing, easily toppled by the first strong wind. A tree that is not afraid to sink its roots deep into the darkness can grow to unimaginable heights, its branches soaring into the light with a strength and authenticity that is unshakable. Your shadow self is your root system. It is your connection to the primal, earthy, and powerful energies of life itself. To deny it is to live a shallow, precarious existence. To embrace it is to become whole, grounded, and truly powerful. The work of embracing your shadow is not, as some might fear, about unleashing your dark side and acting out your repressed impulses in the world. That is what happens when the shadow is ignored and explodes unconsciously. The work is the exact opposite. It is the process of bringing the gentle, non-judgmental light of your conscious awareness into the darkness. It is an act of spiritual courage and profound self-love. It begins with changing your relationship to your so-called negative emotions. These emotions are not your enemies. They are sacred messengers from the deep. Your anger is a messenger, often carrying the message that a boundary has been crossed and needs to be defended. Your jealousy is a messenger, often pointing to a deep desire or insecurity that you have not acknowledged. Your fear is a messenger, often offering the wisdom of caution and alerting you to what you truly value. Your grief is a messenger, carving out the depth of your heart and reminding you of your capacity to love. The spiritual practice is to stop shooting the messenger. When a shadow emotion arises, You do not repress it, and you do not act it out blindly. You pause, you turn inward, you acknowledge its presence with a neutral curiosity. Ah, there is rage. Welcome. I am willing to feel you. You locate its energy in your body, the fire in your belly, the tension in your fists. You breathe into it. You give it space. Then, you get curious. You ask it, what is your message for me? What truth are you trying to show me? What part of me are you trying to protect? You learn to dialogue with these energies, to listen to their primitive, often clumsy wisdom. In doing so, you begin a process of integration. You are not possessed by the anger, but you can reclaim its powerful energy and use it consciously to set a clear boundary in your life. You are not paralyzed by the fear, but you can hear its wise whisper of caution and move forward with awareness instead of naivete. You are retrieving the gold from the darkness. You are finding the immense power, passion, and authenticity that you locked away long ago. This is the path to becoming whole. A person who is all light is brittle, inauthentic, and secretly terrified of their own completeness. They are a tree with no roots. A truly integrated human being is not afraid of their own darkness. They have owned their capacity for anger as well as for love, for selfishness as well as for generosity. They are not dangerous because they have a shadow. They are safe because they are aware of their shadow. They have a relationship with it. They have befriended their own inner demons, and in doing so, have transformed them into powerful allies. They are no longer at war with themselves. And this is the great secret. When you stop fighting a war within yourself, an immense amount of energy that was consumed by inner conflict is suddenly liberated. The constant tension between who you think you should be and the parts of you that you fear you are finally relaxes. You stop trying to be a good person and simply allow yourself to be a whole person. And in this wholeness, in this radical self-acceptance that embraces both the mud and the lotus, both the roots and the flowers, you discover a new center of gravity. You find a place of profound balance and stability that was never before possible. It is a stillness that is not disturbed by the passing storms of emotion, because it has embraced them all. You have come home to the totality of your being, and at the very heart of that totality, you find a silent, unmoving point of peace. This is the still point in the center of the turning world. You have walked the courageous path of integration. You have turned to face the mirrors of your relationships, and you have journeyed into the darkness of your own shadow, not with fear, but with the light of awareness. In embracing the totality of who you are, both the soaring branches and the hidden roots of your being, the inner war has ceased. The immense energy once consumed by self-judgment and repression has been liberated. And in the silence that follows the end of this internal conflict, you begin to sense something new. It is a peace that is deeper than happiness. It is a quiet that is more profound than the absence of noise. You are discovering the silent, unmoving center of your own soul. You are finding what the poet T.S. Eliot called the still point of the turning world. Your life, and the world around you, is a vortex of constant motion. There is the endless turning of thoughts in your mind, the churning of emotions in your heart, the ceaseless flux of circumstances, relationships, gains, and losses. Most people live their entire lives on the periphery of this tornado, tossed about by the chaotic winds of change, identifying with the debris of their own stories, deafened by the roar of the storm. They search for a point of stability in the storm itself, in a relationship, in a career, in a belief system, but everything in the turning world is, by its nature, impermanent. To seek lasting peace in that which is constantly changing is to guarantee a life of anxiety and disappointment. The great secret of the spiritual path is that peace is not found by calming the storm. It is found by discovering the point of absolute stillness that has always existed at its very center. Imagine a powerful cyclone. At its edges, the winds are destructive, chaotic, and terrifying. But if you could travel into its very heart, you would find the eye of the storm. It is a space of uncanny, preternatural calm. The sky is clear, the air is still, From this silent center, you can observe the magnificent, terrible power of the storm raging around you. But you are utterly untouched by it. You are safe. You are at peace. Your own consciousness is structured in exactly the same way. The periphery is the noise of your ego mind and the drama of your life. But at the very core of your being, there exists an eye of the storm, a silent center, a still point. This still point is not an emotion. Happiness and sadness are part of the turning storm. It is not a thought. Thoughts are the debris swirling in the wind. The still point is the very ground of your being. It is pure, formless, timeless awareness. It is the I am before you attach any label to it. It is the deep, silent ocean floor beneath all the turbulent waves. Meditation is the practice of learning to navigate your way out of the storm and into the I. Let us take this journey inward now. Allow your awareness to first rest on the periphery of your being. Notice the weather of your inner world without judgment. What thoughts are swirling through your mind? What emotions are churning? What sensations are present in your body? Simply acknowledge the storm. See the winds of thought, the clouds of emotion, the electrical charge of sensation. Do not resist them. Do not try to stop them. Simply see them as the natural activity of the turning world. Now, imagine that you can turn your attention away from this outer edge and begin to walk inward toward the core of your own consciousness. With each inner step you take, you move further from the roar of the winds. The noise of the chattering mind begins to fade into the distance. The turbulence of your emotions begins to calm. You are walking down a quiet corridor, deeper and deeper into the sanctuary of your own soul. You are moving toward a place of absolute silence that you know, intuitively, is your true home. And now, you arrive. You step into the I. Here, at the center of your being, there is no movement. There is no effort. There is no thought. There is no fear. There is only a vast, open, silent, and deeply peaceful presence. It is luminous. It is intelligent. It is love. This is the still point. This is the uncreated, the unborn, the deathless. This is the true self you have been seeking through all your lifetimes. Take a moment to rest here. Feel the quality of this stillness. It is not an empty, lifeless stillness. It is a vibrant, potent stillness, pregnant with all of creation. It is the peace that passeth all understanding. Feel how it holds you. Feel how it nourishes you. This is your eternal refuge. Know that this space is always available to you, in every moment, no matter how fiercely the storm of life may rage. The goal of this practice is not to permanently escape the world and live forever in the eye of the storm. You are here to be a tree with branches that dance in the wind. The goal is to know the path to the center so well that you can return to it in an instant, even in the midst of your daily life. When you are faced with a crisis, a difficult conversation, a moment of intense challenge, the practice is to pause. Take a single conscious breath, and in that breath, retreat to the still point. Touch that inner silence, if only for a second. From that place of calm clarity, you can then respond to the situation rather than simply reacting to it. Your actions will no longer come from the fear and confusion of the storm's edge, but from the deep wisdom and unshakable peace of your own center. You become the lighthouse, and you now know that the inexhaustible source of your light is this inner stillness. You become a conduit of peace in the world, because you have found the source of all peace within yourself. When you learn to operate from this still point, your entire motivation for living begins to shift in a profound way. The frantic, ego-driven search for purpose and meaning in the outer world begins to fall away. You no longer need to achieve a great success, earn a certain amount of money, or win the approval of others in order to feel whole or at peace. You have already discovered a wholeness and a peace at your core that is unconditional and absolute. The desperate striving ceases. The turning world, with all its promises and threats, no longer has the same power over you. And from this place of inner completeness, a new and far more authentic sense of purpose begins to emerge. It is not a purpose you must find or achieve. It is not a destination you must struggle to reach. It is a purpose that flows naturally, effortlessly, out of the very state of your being. It is the realization that your purpose is not something you do, but something you are. You have found the still point, the silent, unmoving center within. You have discovered a peace that is not dependent on the circumstances of the turning world. From this sacred ground of being, you look out at your life, and the frantic questions that once haunted you begin to lose their power. The most persistent of these questions, the one that drives so much of human anxiety, is the question of purpose. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I meant to be doing with my life? We are taught from a young age that life is a mission to be accomplished, a problem to be solved. We believe that our purpose is a destination we must strive for, a specific career, a great achievement, a legacy we will one day leave behind. This model of purpose places fulfillment perpetually in the future. It implies that who you are and what you are doing right now is merely a stepping stone, an incomplete prelude to a future moment when you will finally arrive, when your life will finally have meaning. And so, you live in a state of constant, low-grade dissatisfaction, always feeling that you are not quite there yet. This is the ego's greatest strategy for keeping you out of the present moment. It keeps you striving, searching, and suffering, forever chasing a horizon that recedes as you approach it. But from the stillness of your true center, you begin to see through this illusion. You begin to understand that purpose is not a destination you must reach. It is a state of being you must inhabit. Your purpose is not something you do, it is something you are. Consider a flower blooming in a field. What is its purpose? Is it to struggle to become the most beautiful flower? Is it to worry about whether it will be picked? Is it to compete with the flower next to it? To ask these questions is to see their absurdity. The purpose of the flower is simply to be a flower. Its purpose is to unfold its petals, to turn its face toward the sun, to absorb the rain, and to express its unique color and fragrance into the world, simply because that is its innate nature. Its being is its purpose. Its purpose is not a future achievement. It is the complete and total expression of its essence in this very moment. You are no different. Your primary purpose in this life is not to achieve some grand, external goal. Your primary purpose is to be authentically, unapologetically, and completely yourself, right now. It is to allow the unique essence of your being, the particular fragrance of your soul, to emanate from you in every moment. The full expression of your own consciousness is your greatest gift to the universe. This shifts your focus entirely from the anxious question of, "What should I be doing?" to the peaceful inquiry, "Who am I choosing to be?" When you focus on the quality of your being, the doing takes care of itself, and it becomes infused with a purpose far deeper than the ego could ever conceive. When you are rooted in your still point, in a state of presence and peace, the simple act of listening to a friend becomes your purpose in that moment. You are not listening in order to give advice or to be liked. Your purpose is simply to be a vessel of presence, to offer the gift of your undivided, compassionate attention. The effect this has on your friend is a beautiful byproduct, not the goal. When you are engaged in your work, your purpose is not merely to get a paycheck or a promotion. Your purpose is to bring a state of focused, creative, and peaceful energy to the task at hand. The quality of your consciousness becomes the purpose, and the work itself is transformed from a chore into a devotional practice. This is the meaning of the Taoist principle of Wu Wei, which can be translated as effortless action or non-doing. It does not mean laziness or passivity. It means to cease acting from the frantic, striving energy of the separate ego and to begin acting from the deep, intuitive flow of your true being, which is one with the Tao, the flow of the universe. It is the action that arises spontaneously from the stillness of the now. When you are living from your center, you are no longer pushing the river. You are the river. You do not have to meticulously plan your every move out of fear. You trust the intelligence of the present moment to guide you. An idea for a project may arise, not from anxious ambition, but from a quiet spark of inspiration. The right words in a difficult conversation will come to you, not from mental rehearsal, but from a place of deep, intuitive listening. You are no longer the struggling actor, desperately trying to remember your lines. You have become the play itself, unfolding gracefully and intelligently, moment by moment. You can let go of the immense burden of finding your purpose. You can stop searching for it as if it were a lost object. Instead, your practice is to become so still, so present, so authentically you, that your purpose can find you. When you are a clear, open, and peaceful channel, the universe will begin to use you in ways you could never have imagined. Opportunities and callings will arise that are a perfect match for your unique energy and gifts, not because you chased them, but because you became a vibrational match for them. Your purpose is not a static job title or a single mission. It is a dynamic and evolving expression of your deepest self. Today, your purpose might be to raise a child with presence and love. Tomorrow, it may be to create a work of art. Next year, it may be to simply care for your own body with kindness. The form will change, but the essence remains the same: to be a conduit for presence, for love, for the peace of the still point, in whatever form the present moment requires. When you fully embrace this, a final, great letting go occurs. The seeking stops, the search for a future state of happiness, the search for a grand purpose, the search for a moment of final arrival, all of it falls away. You realize there is nowhere to go, nothing to find, nothing to achieve that is more important or more sacred than the simple act of being fully here, now. You are no longer trying to get to heaven. You have found heaven in a grain of sand. You are no longer striving for enlightenment. You have found it in the is-ness of this moment. The desperate search for meaning is replaced by the quiet inhabiting of a meaningful life. This is the ultimate freedom. It is the end of all seeking, not because you have found all the answers, but because you have finally realized that you, your very being, were the answer you were looking for all along. You have walked a long and winding path. You have journeyed inward, through the echo chamber of the mind, past the silent watcher, and into the fertile void. You have learned the language of vibration, the power of the present moment, and the sacred lessons of your own suffering. You have embraced your shadow, found the still point within the storm, and released the search for an external purpose. You have come so far, and now you stand at the final gate. But there is a secret to this gate. The secret is that it was never locked, and it does not open outward to a new destination, but inward to the place where you have always been. We must now talk about the very act of the journey itself. We must talk about the seeking, for the final illusion to dissolve is the illusion that there is something to find. The spiritual search is the ego's last and most subtle game. The ego, having seen that its search for happiness in money, in relationships, in success, has failed, cleverly adopts a new costume. It becomes the spiritual seeker. It makes enlightenment its new ultimate prize. It puts peace on a pedestal. It puts awakening in the future, and it sets off on a grand quest to achieve it. This seeking, no matter how noble it appears, is still rooted in the core illusion of separation. It reinforces the idea that there is a me here who is lacking, broken, and unenlightened, and a perfect, whole, enlightened state over there that must be attained. This very structure of seeking perpetuates the suffering it purports to end. It keeps you on the hamster wheel of becoming, forever striving for a future state of grace, and in doing so, you continually miss the grace that is inherent and absolute in this very moment. There is an old story of a man who spent his entire life in search of a mythical, priceless diamond. He was told that possessing this diamond would bring him everlasting peace and end all his suffering. So he left his home, wandered the earth, and endured incredible hardships. He studied ancient maps, dug in treacherous mines, consulted with wise men, and followed every rumor, every clue. He grew old and weary in his search, his body frail, his spirit crushed with disappointment. Defeated, he finally made his way back to the simple hut where he was born. As he sat on the dirt floor, cold, hungry, and utterly bereft, he plunged his hand into the pocket of his oldest, most tattered coat, simply seeking a moment of warmth. And his fingers brushed against something hard, smooth, and familiar. With a trembling hand, he pulled it out. It was the diamond. It was immense, flawless, and it pulsed with a soft, inner light. It had been in his pocket the entire time. His whole life's journey, all the struggle and all the pain, had been utterly unnecessary. The treasure he sought across the world was the one thing he had never thought to look for, that which was already his. You are this man. And enlightenment is this final, simple, and sometimes humorous realization. It is the moment you stop digging in distant mines and finally put your hand in your own pocket. The peace you have been seeking, the wholeness you have been yearning for, the love you have been chasing, it is not at the end of some long and arduous path. It is the very fabric of your own being. It is your own awareness, the silent, conscious presence that is reading these words, that is hearing these sounds. You have been searching for the one thing that has never been lost. You have been trying to attain the one thing you have never been without. Enlightenment is not a superhuman achievement. It is not the acquisition of magical powers or a permanent escape from life's difficulties. It is not a state of perpetual smiley bliss. It is something far more ordinary and far more profound. Enlightenment is the end of seeking. It is the final, complete, and utter collapse of the search. It is the relaxing of the deep inner tension of trying to become something other than what you are. It is the simple, shocking discovery that you were never broken, and therefore you do not need to be fixed. The waves will still rise and fall. The weather of life will still change. The chopping of wood and the carrying of water will still continue. But you are no longer the frightened wave. You are the peaceful ocean. You are no longer the seeker, lost and striving. You are the silent presence in which the entire world of seeking arises and dissolves. All the practices we have explored, the meditation, the self-inquiry, the shadow work, they were not tools to build enlightenment. They were tools to help you quiet the storm of the mind just enough so that you could notice the silent, peaceful sky that was always there. They were tools to help you stop looking outward with such intensity that you could finally feel the diamond in your own pocket. But once the diamond is found, once you know its presence as your own, you can even let go of the tools. There is nothing left to do. There is nowhere left to go. There is no one you need to become. The journey is over, not because you have reached a grand destination, but because you have realized you were always home. So, let this be the final instruction. Cease all effort, release all striving, let go of the searcher, the seeker, the one who is trying to get somewhere, and simply be. Be the awareness that is here. Be the stillness that underlies all sound. Be the presence in which this moment is unfolding. You are not the body. You are not the mind. You are not the story. You are the formless, timeless, sacred space in which all of those things are allowed to happen. You are that which you have been seeking. The cosmic joke is over, and all that is left is the quiet, simple, radiant peace of your own being. Welcome home.